Hey,
Howdy. Happy New
we're
Year.
live, pal.
We are indeed.
I will say that
It's a new
as
year.
much as we do this show because it's one of my favorite backstage bloopers, and I took a lot of the holiday finding clips that just make me laugh in wrestling. Mainly the one of British Bulldog trying to cut a promo on Repo Man. Um,
That's not his car.
you tried to steal my car. It wasn't even my car. It was a rental. Like he's flexing on getting one over on the Repo Man. Welcome to Pro Wrestling Simulated, everybody. I am Michael St. Gregory, along with now I can do this. I forgot I mirrored
Yeah,
my
that's right.
video with Pat the Statman Dooley.
That's
It is
DOOLEY.
I see what you did there. It
I'm
is
taking off the hat.
2022. This is our day one of the new year.
Yes. Day two is our day
And
one. That's not
I have
confusing
a
at all.
feeling it'll go a lot better. The WWE's. Oh man!
All right. It was a solid, low B, high
Yes.
B minus show because the
What was the
matches
term
that
they
were
were
good.
using instead of pay-per-view? Premium
Premium
live
live
event.
event. Yes.
Ugh. Like I get it. It's not pay-per-view anymore. There's really no such thing as pay-per-view anymore except for
No.
UFC, and even then it's just like on demand,
Right. Yeah. You just go and fight.
But like
Also, I'm
the
enjoying
term,
a water beverage or
yeah,
whatever
the
it was they
term is
kept
like
plugging.
it's like Kleenex. You say Kleenex even though you're
Yep.
getting a tissue,
Yep.
or
Or you're gonna Xerox something.
like a Band-Aid when you're getting an adhesive
An
bandage.
adhesive bandage. Yes.
And unfortunately, WWE is still synonymous with wrestling. But anyway, but I want to talk
For now.
about the big news, the big shocking news that happened last night. Jeff Jarrett debuted in Game Changer Wrestling.
Ain't he great?
Did anyone even think that that could happen? No one did. And
Least
lo
of
and
all,
behold,
Effie.
he did it. Poor Effie. We actually have footage of that moment, so let me pull it up. No one saw this coming. El Kabong takes off the hat. Later, he took off the hat and the mask and revealed himself to be Jeff Jarrett, and the biggest holy S chant I have heard in quite some time. Yeah. What's Jeff Jarrett going to do? Apparently, he's going to show up at Hammerstein Ballroom.
That's what I hear.
Probably face off against Effie. Effie is fine, by the way. State of Effie address may have been interrupted, but Effie is fine.
No, that's right.
I love that gimmick.
Yeah, Effie's great.
Effie is. Where did Effie show up on the PWA?
Excellent question. He's
Might as well look it
on
up.
the list. One moment. You may need to vamp for a second.
Jeff really slammed that. Say what you will about Jeff Jarrett, but the man knows how to do a guitar shot.
Effie was number 95.
Number 95. Not
Cracked
bad.
the top 100.
Breaking that top 100. Good job. Jeff Jarrett is always a heat magnet. There's no doubt about that. And he knows it too.
Mm-hmm.
So when he shows up in Hammerstein Ballroom, that place is going to be insane.
Yep. People are going to be selling guitar shots like it's cash for gold.
Yeah. It's a new year. It's a new is it new though? Because WWE's Day One happened last night.
Sure felt same old to me.
There were a lot of reports that there was going to be like a new graphical layout. They were going to do new ropes, new camera angles, really try like a new refreshing production style as opposed to the mad Kevin Dunn hit the directing edit button. And that did not happen because apparently maybe like a few days ago, all of it was rejected. And they just said, nope, we're fine.
Hey kids, did you like the camera work in the first 2 Resident Evil games? Then have I got a wrestling promotion for you.
I get nauseous sometimes, watching that. It's
yeah.
Well, for anyone who's new to the show, So if this is your day one watching Pro Wrestling Simulated, this is our chance basically for me and Pat, longtime friends, to just hang out and talk about wrestling. But also, we've got this fantastic thing called the 500, where Pat has taken all 500 wrestlers from the 2021 PWI 500 and has set up a single elimination tournament. We have done 10 episodes of that so far. Every now and then we like to break it up with some stuff like this where we just get to hang out and chat. Um, and today we are going to be giving our predictions as well as our own little end of the year awards for stuff that happened in 2021. But first, I want to also address some cool stuff that happened just over the past week or so. Congratulations to Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. They had a wonderful wedding, apparently, over at New Year's. Great way to ring in the new year. Good for them.
Absolutely.
Like the close circuit friendship that they've had of John Morrison and Dolph Ziggler, Cody, Miz.
Mhm.
Like that has just been a tightly knit group, and it's good to see that like wrestling politics aside and people getting hired and fired left and right. Um, it's I would love to see Chelsea Green in AEW. I mean, I know that she's killing it in Impact
Yeah, she's doing very well in Impact.
and in NWA as well. Her hot mess persona is just such a great draw.
Yeah.
She really killed it. But what good congratulations on them. I have like all my tabs picked up. But yeah, everybody's talking about Jeff Jarrett. Numerous Ring of Honor stars now officially free agents.
Yes, as of midnight yesterday.
As of midnight yesterday, the current the holder of the classic world championship, I guess, Jonathan Gresham, who has been out, like he has been calling his matches, like he just wants
Mhm.
to face everybody, especially Brian Danielson,
Yes.
who even replied and said, "I want this match to
Okay.
happen
Yeah.
too."
Yeah.
We
It's
all want it to happen.
it's kind of like the anti Ninjago,
Yeah,
where
this is a
Gresham,
pure wrestling dream match.
Gresham as the Ring of Honor World Champion is, I hate to use the word allowed because it's such a weighted word, but
Yeah,
he's allowed to call his shot like that.
absolutely.
I'm
I
sorry,
guess
Anthony
we
Agogo,
should call
you're
him
not
interim
there
world
yet.
champion because Bandito still is the recognized world champion.
That's true. Yeah, he's the
It's kind of a gray
whatever.
area.
Yeah, the recognized
Yeah.
versus observed versus whatever. Um, yeah, but
Maybe we'll
still,
see that
either
match
way,
happen in Terminus.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Khan would let it happen. What else? Josh Woods, the current pure champion, Silas Young, Red Titus, Shane Taylor, Mike Bennett, Beer City Bruiser, Brian Milanis, and the very nice, very evil Danhausen are amongst them.
Moses and Khan,
Obviously,
the other two members of Shane Taylor Promotions, the
yeah.
trios champions
Um,
or 6-man tag champions, as Ring of Honor calls them.
Briscoe Brothers, current Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Josh Woods actually just recently competed on AEW Dark.
He did,
Um,
yes, indeed.
yeah. Uh,
And the Briscoes have been calling out FTR on social
I mean, they
media
showed up at
for.
Final Battle, so
Yep,
there's gotta be some follow up somewhere.
yep.
Uh, the world women's champion Roxy, she just did a tryout for WWE.
Mhm.
I hope for the best for her. I think she would be a great fit for NXT's women's division because they
She would.
actually do
Yeah.
really well in that department. That's like the one
Yes.
thing that
Has
NXT still has going for them.
Yep. I'm
And
surprised. I
obviously,
really thought she would go to Impact to work with
I
Deanna
mean, it's also a
Purrazzo.
possibility,
Um,
you know.
yeah,
Seeing as how the recruiting policies have changed, um, and now
yeah,
that
that's true.
2.0 basically is more developmental than the super indie that
Right.
Triple H was basically building. Uh, and then Jay Lethal, he's all elite and kind of almost immediately disappeared. Like it was like he had some high profile matches and then
Yeah.
it's just kind of pushed to the wayside for the most part.
Yeah. The last
I don't know.
last high profile match he had wasn't even in AEW. There was that
No.
5-way in AAA for the vacant title that Hijo del Vikingo won.
Uh, so yeah, I'm hoping that there was a lot of Danhausen support on New Year's Bash, the
Yes,
most recent Dynamite.
as well there
Face
should be.
painted signs everywhere.
Very nice, very evil.
I hope that I would let we were joking or be like messaging each other back and forth of like all the insane ways that they could use Danhausen, and I would just my personal choice would be for him to only be on AEW Dark because he likes darkness,
Just
and
very dark, very evil.
specifically because it tapes at Universal Studios. So all he wants to do is just have like free access to the rides
Yeah.
there.
So tell Danhausen more about these minions.
Yeah.
That's
I want to go on the greatest ride of all, the Fast and the Furious. That ride
I'm
sucks
trying to
so much.
find that
Oh,
conversation because there was some good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I would
Danhausen
say
to buy stock because he saved all his money from the honorable ring. Um,
uh, Tony Khan has to come to Elevation to tell him that he's the number one contender for the TNT title, but he has to appear on Rampage to challenge for it. If Danhausen must leave Dark, then Danhausen insists on being paid per view. Let's see. Yeah, we got your Fast and Furious joke. And him joining forces with Darby and Sting to defeat the Ass Boys.
Dude, I want that 6-man, like, because it's already such a great not conflict, but like contrast of,
Yes.
you got the old school, you've got the new school, and then you should have the weird school.
And then you've got Danhausen.
just
You're
Dan.
missing half of your Painthausen. No, I do this on purpose. I'm half dead. Oh, very evil. Danhausen likes you. You won't be cursed.
um
Dr. Britt Baker, what do you do with the extra human teeth at the end of the day?
just collecting teeth. So a lot of big WWE news as day one happened yesterday. We send out our hopes and our all our regards for Roman Reigns. He got pulled from the event because unfortunately he had tested positive for COVID. Being that he is in remission right now for leukemia,
Mm,
and being immunocompromised, I truly hope that he just is safe, secure, happy, just
yeah.
take whatever time, I mean, he is probably their most valuable asset right
Oh,
now.
I don't know that I would even say probably. I think he's certainly there.
Absolute, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, him and Brock Lesnar are guaranteed draws no matter where. I mean,
Yes.
that's just the fact. Um, and yeah, I truly hope that in a weird way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise the way that they've done now the Heyman storyline between him and Brock, because now you have Brock who won the championship in probably the most telegraphed way possible throughout the whole night.
Yes. They
But
put
we'll
him
get to
front and
that.
center in the match graphic.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I truly hope he is okay. I would like, I'm sorry if anybody is differentiated in opinion on this, but WWE not doing any more COVID testing is really stupid.
Mhm.
Really,
Yeah.
really stupid.
Yeah. Your top draw is recovering from cancer, immunocompromised. Let's just stop testing for a virus that at this point we've got a pretty decent handle on it in terms of
The
treating it.
CDC is now booking WWE.
Yes, yeah. The CDC says it's okay to get a little bit of COVID as a treat,
Yeah,
um, which apparently is what happened to Roman. So yeah, thoughts and prayers, hopes and wishes. However, however you prefer to demonstrate that.
feel better, man.
I mean, I don't want to go all post hoc ergo propter hoc on this, but it can't be a coincidence that immediately as soon as they stop testing for COVID, it's like, oh wait, nope,
Yeah,
our cancer patient world champion has COVID.
it's like no foresight
How did
on that
how did that happen?
whatsoever.
Who could possibly have first seen such a thing?
But like I said, now going into future storylines with Brock winning the championship, you've got, Heyman split between his tribal chief or the one he has advocated for. Uh, and especially with Heyman being fired, as it were, uh, and kind of thrown to the wayside. I don't know if that was him being written off or if it was meant to be part of what could have happened. But there is a possibility now, if God willing, Roman is okay. We could have a champion versus champion match at WrestleMania.
We could.
It is entirely possible now.
We could.
Stranger things have happened. We have had a WWE champion in the Royal Rumble with Brock, so we'll see.
Well, and Roman a couple
And
years
Roman,
ago
yeah,
had to defend the title in the Rumble.
a couple of
And-
strange years those Rumbles were.
Mhm.
Drew McIntyre has been written off WWE TV due to neck issues. He had actually a legitimate good match with a match that didn't deserve to be good, to be honest, based on how they presented Riddick Madcap Moss, the cohort and forced laughing individual of Happy Corbin. God,
Yeah. Yeah.
they are talented guys, and it's unfair that they have to be presented in a way where it's like you're a dork.
Mm-hmm.
No one should take you seriously.
Yep.
And if you do that, then how are we supposed to take Drew seriously when he can't fight this goober?
When it takes him 12 minutes to
Yeah.
beat that. Yeah.
And if it was just Riddick Moss being like, I'm, a former NFL player, I know how to beat you down strategically.
Yeah.
And same thing with Baron Corbin. He was in the NFL for like a hot minute, but still, like, you could have a bond between that, like, sort of an old school, like, Basham Brothers type of deal, or Bash Brothers. What was it from Mighty
That's the
Ducks?
Basham Brothers,
Bash
Danny
Brothers?
and Doug. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm trying to think of, like, the hockey reference.
Oh, yeah. Or even Canseco and Maguire were the Basham
Yeah,
Brothers.
exactly. Have you ever seen the Lonely Island film with the two of them?
I haven't. That's been on my
Okay.
list for a while. I love
It's-
The Lonely Island.
It's
and I've just
ridiculous
never
that
gotten
they
around
made
to
an
it.
entire musical just based
Yeah.
on the two of
On
them.
Jose Canseco and Mark Maguire. Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
don't know why
Drew-
it's taken me this long, because Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping is one of my favorite comedies from the last
that
10
was great.
years.
I
love
saw
that
that in
movie.
theaters. Laugh my ass off.
So good.
So Drew has a cervical neck strain with severe contusions after the attack, or at least that is what WWE's Twitter had said.
After Corbin dropped construction equipment on him.
Now, apparently he's
backstage.
had like neck problems. And I guess this was just a way for like, you really got to treat this. So we're just going to kind of move you off.
Right.
So, hopefully he was doing a weird celebration though at the end of the match last night. Like he kind of did Adam Cole's thing, and then he's like awkwardly dancing throughout the night.
I kind of felt like he thought they were going to throw it to a video package, so he was just screwing around to entertain the live crowd, not realizing that for once Kevin Dunn wasn't cutting. And so
Edge beat the Miz in a 20-minute match, and
which was a decent match, but it's definitely setting up. Like they're definitely building to a mixed tag at Mania.
As Beth Phoenix returned. And
in her Sarah Logan cosplay with the Viking braids.
Yeah, that was some interesting. I mean, she looked great. I think Beth Phoenix is awesome.
Also, production missed the cue to play her music, so she had to stand on the ramp looking angry for a couple extra seconds.
I can't stand.
Yes, he did.
Oh yes,
that was very cool.
Like, they won't say Gangrel's name at all.
No,
for some reason. It's a weird.
Well, is it still owned by White Wolf Entertainment or whatever?
So, it's just weird that
they're using all the trappings.
That was always weird though to see that in the video games credits. The Gangrel, like of all people, but smart on his part. Because that's actually a term used in Vampire the Masquerade, which is a fantastic role playing game. God, I've been wanting to play that, but I can never find anybody who knows how or runs the game. But Gangrel is a term for vampire
Mhm.
specifically trademarked to that game. And he worked out a deal with them to be like the physical representation of it,
Right.
and then became, and then used it in his pro wrestling. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the most memorable mid-carders of the
Absolutely.
Attitude Era.
He had my favorite entrance in the Attitude
Oh,
Era.
absolutely. He has one of my favorite entrances of all time.
The
Like,
music, it
that
just
will always be cool.
I love that music. Just that beat is you just
Oh,
vibe to it the whole
oh,
way
get
down. It's
ready,
perfect for entrance.
oh, get
Yeah,
ready. It was
it's
like
messed
proto
me up too.
ASMR.
But yeah, he bringing back a little bit of the is Edge a vampire sort of deal. What? Let's see. What else?
He's
Did you hear about
definitely
that? Like, I feel like a top night late show host with like. Did you hear about this story? Um, so Sheamus's longtime, forever best friend has always been there. Ridge Holland.
Ooh. Ooh, this was
He
ugly.
suffered a broken nose.
Yeah.
Um, badly too.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
that was gross. It was I
The
could
match.
tell immediately it was bad because
It
it
was a
was
bit of a
like
sloppy match.
it went like 0 to like blood-soaked canvas in 2.8 seconds. Like as soon as Ricochet under rotated on that 450,
I
like
mean, I guess they can now call
Holland's
him
face
Ridge Bloody
exploded.
Holland, like for real.
Right, yes, yeah. He earned his stripes, except it sucks. I get it as a precaution, as a medical precaution, removing him from the ring, but that would have been such a cool visual of him just like continuing the match with blood pouring out
The
of his
match was
face.
all over the place. It
It
was
was.
all over the place. Yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
got some
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
faces when that happened.
It was not quite as gross as what happened to Cash Wheeler's arm a few months ago,
No, 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 no,
but it was
no.
still gross.
Ooh. And one of the biggest WWE announcements for this year is that we have announced the first entrant to the 2022 Royal Rumble, and it is, drumroll please.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and welcome and welcome to this is the Royal Rumble. I botched the intro.
Johnny
Sorry. You had a whole thing going.
Knoxville, folks. First of all, a guy who has a pro wrestling name his whole time,
Yes.
this whole career. But Johnny Knoxville, the 50-year-old rookie.
I mean, it'll make him one of the youngest main eventers in WWE. These young
Oh man.
whippersnappers that are watching NXT 2.0.
I will say he is a wrestling fan. He was like, I'm gonna be
He is.
channeling Gorilla Monsoon and Abdullah the Butcher, and I'm like, okay,
Yep.
I know that, yeah, like he's the guy who's like, I watched wrestling growing up in the 80s and 90s and stopped
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
why should I care anymore? And I get it.
Yeah.
He also is the demographic for NXT.
Yes.
Um,
No, I think he's too young.
oh yeah, that's right.
The median age for NXT viewers
Like
is in the mid
64.
60s.
Jesus.
64, yeah. At least that was as of like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if that
Actually,
changed.
I pulled up the ratings recently. It's bad. They are like, ooh, averaging in the 500,000s and
Yeah.
like point. Ooh.
In a true game-changing move in a couple months, we're going to see it leave USA Network and go back to being a Peacock exclusive, which they'll spin, but
Every match 3 minutes,
yeah,
15 seconds maybe.
yeah,
Uh
we'll put it on
but
Quibi.
you want to talk about people getting juiced on TV, showing some color. Holy crap. Did you watch Rampage? Did
Yeah,
you
the women's
see
tag
that
match.
street fight?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
when the match between TJ and the Bunny
Bunny and
and
Penelope.
Penelope Ford was announced, I admit, I rolled because I
Hmm.
was like, again, we're getting this match, and I'm just like, there's nothing moving forward with it. Then they said street fight, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I mean,
Hmm.
that's usually a feud ender in this world that they do,
Yep.
because they save their big matches, to end a feud like
Yeah.
you're supposed to. And holy
Unless you're
crap,
trying to get Cody Rhodes over and put him through a flaming table after a 2-week feud with Andrade, but
right?
that's a different discussion for a different thing.
Oh, Cody. Um, Now, I thought that the Britt Baker and
Thunder Rosa,
Thunder Rosa
the
match
lights out match. Yeah.
was hardcore. These women went, to use an AEW pay-per-view name, all out.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't a moment of like, we're gonna start it like a wrestling match and then
Mm-hmm.
beat the hell out of each other. No,
No.
from bell to bell,
Mm-hmm.
chaos.
Yep.
And
Well, and that's
wow.
consistent with the story. Like, that's
Yeah.
one thing that has bugged me about wrestling for the last 15 years or so, is you don't have this kind of hatred anymore. You'll get months of, I hit your girlfriend with a chair, bell rings, collar and elbow tie up. It's like,
Yeah.
no. You want to kill each other.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with this match. They went straight into it. When we go into a little more depth on day one, I was gonna compare the main event to a video game, but that's pretty much what this street fight was. It
Oh
was
yeah.
two
This is when you
teams.
decide to do the weapons match on,
Yeah, it was
your
Here
game
Comes the
and
Pain
go
with, yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. Yeah, they were just like, as soon as it rang, they were just going, they were swinging for the fences, and they
Each
connected.
other.
It was a great match. Definitely the best. I would
I
say
have
it's the
never
best
seen
any of those four have had on AEW TV so far.
Bunny bled more than Britt.
Mm.
That's a tongue twister.
Well, we know Bunny is fond of blades, so
Ooh, just let it does not roll. It's gonna be just a blubbering mess if I try to. Well, let's go run down.
she's married to the blade.
Yeah, we'll go back to Rampage though for sure. So day one, the pre-show, the kickoff show. It's pre-show. Cesaro, Ricochet, Ridge Holland, and Sheamus. It was a bit rough. It was a bit rough to watch. Kind of all over the place. That
but also not terrible considering the circumstances.
Yeah,
losing
also,
one of the
your
four
dad jokes are getting
participants
booed in the chat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's all right. It's I have given up on New Year, New Me. It's just going to be the same old. What you see is what you get. I'm too old to change.
So Ricochet gets this kick onto Holland's nose, and
which is supposed to be a 450, but
right.
It turns into a 360 stomp instead.
Yeah. Ow.
I don't know if that's on Ricochet for under rotating, or if Cesaro didn't throw him high enough.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of like a missed,
just a series of unfortunate events. Yeah.
But the former members of the bar were just beating the hell out of each other. Now, I can, 3 out of the 4 guys I know for a fact can put on a great match, especially against each other. Mixed together though, it didn't quite land as much as I'm sure they probably wanted it to.
Right.
But
and I feel like the plan was for that match to be kind of a coming out party for Holland.
Absolutely.
He was supposed to get kind of the lion's share of the offense, and then they had to call an audible when he went out, and they just never quite got out of whatever gear they were in when he went out. And I'm wondering if the white noise on the floor to take Ricochet out so Sheamus could pinch Cesaro, if that was part of the planned finish.
I definitely feel like that was
a logic move. That's what I'm thinking as well. It was a logic move so that it would be possible for Sheamus to get a clean pin without the other breaking it up.
And these are the guys to do it because, they know how to call that, like, just being that they know each other so well, as know each other so much. Should they have changed the ending to make Sheamus lose? Well, I don't think that they're never going to change a finish of the winner and loser of a match, but they will change how it gets there when they're injured or if something bad happens. Because I mean, they'll never change a finish.
No,
that's
rarely all part of the plan.
You can't. I mean, even though nothing really matters in WWE when it comes to stories,
and the plan will change tomorrow.
Yeah, it's never gonna. Yeah.
But should they? I know they wouldn't have. Should they? Maybe. They may, because it didn't make Cesaro. It made Sheamus look good beating the two of them,
Yeah.
but I think it hurt Cesaro and Ricochet by having them take out one of their opponents and then lose clean.
But is
If
it
they
gonna
had
matter?
changed it,
Because probably in, like, a couple of days, Sheamus will beat, or rather Cesaro will beat Sheamus or Holland, like, it's just that's how they do it. They
yeah,
just bounce back and forth and trade wins and losses.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it hurts them on the night, but will anybody remember it by the time Raw is over tomorrow?
So seeing that match, the Usos and the New Day were like, "Well, let's fix this."
Yep, yep. It's up to us, fellas.
And man, did they deliver.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was match of the night for
That
me.
was absolutely. I
Was
mean,
that
these
tag
two
match?
teams could like they're very good at being able to make things seem fresh,
Hmm.
despite facing each other pretty much like the only real tag teams in WWE. Um, King Woods, I love to call him King Woods, and it was his choice. And it rolls off the tongue better. I feel like King Xavier, too many syllables. He had some awesome gear. I mean, New Day always has
Yes.
great gear. Uh, he had a hell of a match.
Yeah.
Kingston always on top form. Um, and then the Usos won with a 3D.
Yep.
Didn't see that coming.
No,
I hope they kind of continue to use it because they nailed it.
they did. It looked really good.
Looked very clean.
I
I don't know
liked.
what they'll call it.
Well, apparently, if the announcers to be believed, if McAfee's to be believed, it's the 1D, because they
Day
the one.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I dig it. By the way, Pat McAfee, totally expecting him to pull the I'm the new guy in the Rumble and like tear the
Oh yeah.
shorts,
Yeah. Yeah.
show
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
eliminated, go back to
Unfortunately, there's no
commentary.
Adam Cole to continue that rivalry in the Rumble.
Which was a great rivalry.
It
Like
was. Yeah.
he showed up to do the work and he did.
Yeah. Yeah. You can tell McAfee's a legit fan. Like
Oh,
he
absolutely.
definitely, and I mean, he's already an athlete. He was in the NFL.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
I know he
wants
was a
to do
punter,
this.
but the punters go through the same drills the rest of the players do.
I feel like he
He's still an athlete.
begged to be in the roster and not on commentary. And they were like, "You're good on the mic," and we
Yeah, you're too good a talker to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and he's obnoxious enough, just
Yes.
enough.
He is what
um,
you want your heel commentators to be,
right.
you know, not JBL. Like,
Who, by the way, apparently said like, I caught it on the pre-show in the panel, like this five-way match. This might be the greatest main event I have ever heard. I'm
uh-huh.
like, really, dude? You've been here forever.
Hmm.
You've seen better stuff. You've been
You
involved
you were
in
in
better
better
stuff.
stuff. Your match with Eddie Guerrero from 2004 was
It's like a
insane.
highlight match of that
Yeah,
time. Whatever.
far
He's
and
just a
away your
mouthpiece.
best match.
He's a
Yeah,
mouthpiece for McMahon. There's no question.
he's a shill.
Uh, and I don't agree with a lot of his things that he personally philosophizes on,
Uh-huh.
especially financial stuff and other
No.
things. But then we had Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. That's pretty much how I feel about that character. But
Hmm.
the match was good.
The match was fine. Yeah.
And it really was like odd because you and me thought, okay, bell rings, Claymore, done.
Hmm. Which I still contend is what should have happened, because
Because of
I
the
don't think
character.
Drew looks good beating Moss in a 12-minute match.
Right. I mean, like I said, if Riddick Moss was presented differently in a way where you're like, this is a competitor, or I
Mhm.
should be taking him seriously
Yeah.
because there's nothing attached to him about, just letting him be him. And so many people agreed afterwards. They're like, just let Riddick Moss be Riddick Moss. What is he? He's a good wrestler. Why do we need this?
Yeah. If this had been the same Moss that was teaming with Tino Sabatelli in NXT, nobody would be saying anything about it.
Yeah,
Nobody would, but it's the Madcap Moss persona that's
it's
killing his
weird.
heat.
It's just very weird. But it was a good match. And then Drew had a very awkward post-match celebration. And then they beat the hell out of him, and now he's written off TV for the most part.
Yeah.
You never
Until
notice
his
how like
triumphant
how
Mania
hard,
return when he faces Happy Corbin. That's my prediction anyway.
probably at Rumble, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
You ever notice how like hardcore they go into describing injuries for the Twitter and
Yeah.
like all their reports. Just like it's not just a hurt neck. It's like
Yeah. It's
devastated clavicle.
contusions.
Yeah, I would love to see Moss and Corbin as like a good, old school beat 'em up tag team. I
The
thought I was
new
gonna get
Bludgeon
that with the
Brothers.
Creed brothers recently on NXT,
Yep.
but they've already watered them down.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, come on." Um,
Yeah.
but then we
I
had
mean, and we've seen what a bad dominant tag team could be when
yeah.
what they try to do with the Ascension. But I mean, we know this formula works. Look at the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah,
Terrible name, but all it was Harper and Rowan coming out and beating the crap out of people.
believe them. And
And they
almost
were,
murdering people with giant wooden hammers.
yeah. And they were for a time one of the most over tag teams on the roster because all they did was kick ass. Yeah.
I
Yeah, exactly.
I still it's like recently the we had the 1 year anniversary of the passing of Brody Lee, and the more and more time passes that he's gone, the more and more we can recognize how good we had it while he was
Mhm.
in the ring. It just I it breaks my heart to see to think about what could have happened with him in
Yeah.
AEW, and at the same time though, just the amount of amazing things that have come out from his passing,
Mhm.
and just the goodwill and the changing in attitude about a lot of things.
Mhm.
So that I hate the phrase that things happen for a reason, but it feels like this had some some good came out of it instead of like unfortunately how we've seen a lot of
Mhm.
pro wrestling deaths been treated in the past.
Yes.
Uh, so good on them for being able to do that, and probably one of the best tribute shows I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's the
100%.
show that convinced CM Punk to sign with AEW.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. um, but what's not a big deal is that is RK Bro still kind of exists. And I
Bro.
like them. I admit I like that. But when are we gonna get Randy Orton being like, I can't stand this guy anymore?
I think it's gonna be when their tomfoolery costs them the tag team titles, which then turns into a feud leading to a Mania match.
Will
I
Riddle eliminate Randy from the Rumble,
maybe,
or will
or
it be the
will
other way around?
a miscommunication, you know, cost them the belts at Fastlane or whatever the pay per view between the Rumble and Mania is this year. Um,
Oh
will
god, the road to WrestleMania has begun.
will Riddle try something silly that doesn't pay off and eats a pin from Otis, and Alpha Academy are the new tag team champions, and
I feel like
Orton
if
finally
Riddle
hits
hits the
the
RKO
RKO.
to win a match, that's when like he's gonna start being like, don't do
Yeah.
that. But the Street Profits showed up and did
Hmm.
what they do best. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins just really showing that they belong there, and that you just I like when WWE wrestlers who at first take the opportunity that's available to them and then realize they're gonna get held back, just decide
Hmm.
to stop caring, as it were, about just going into the ring and doing what they do. I mean, it
Hmm.
happened with Cesaro. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like people were like, "Oh, right." And same thing with Drew. He just was like, "I'm just gonna be myself for a bit and just see what
Yeah.
happens." And then boom, wins the Royal Rumble, becomes main event. And I feel like that is happening more and more with Street Profits,
Agreed.
because they're kind of
I
getting back into that groove they were in NXT.
Yeah. I was honestly kind of expecting a heel turn from them at the end of the match when it
Me
was.
too.
I thought they were going to attack Migos. I genuinely thought that's
Ooh,
why they were all in the
ooh.
ring together at the end. Was that they were going to,
I have never heard
give
that group before. All I know
give
from them is when they were parodied on SNL by Keenan and
eh,
when
and Chris Red and
yeah,
was that
just
one of the
making
ones they
it
did
like
with
they were
Pete?
doing like the group therapy session
Uh
and
huh.
like they barely talk, they just make noise.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard they're good. I like Migos, but it was an odd choice. I mean, I get they were in Atlanta and they
Mainstream
wanted
appeal,
to.
you
Yeah,
gotta get the crossover,
yeah. But I
and the
really thought
admissions
that
always help.
the kind of awkward post match scene with the 7 of them in the ring together was leading to uh, Ford and Dawkins attacking Quavo or something, but it didn't happen.
But then I was reminded of something that upset me, and I pitched it to you, and we both kind of got bummed. This could have been Hit Row's debut.
Yeah, could have
Had they
been.
stayed signed, like it was the stars aligning moment.
Hmm.
But this could have been Hit Row showing up
Yep.
and getting in the face of Migos, and then getting in Street Profit
Hmm.
and just beaten down.
Hmm.
Um,
Could have been.
but no, didn't happen
Not to be.
because none of them are hired anymore.
Nope.
Ugh. But people who still are and have been and may be forever, Edge versus The Miz, again, good match.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great, but it was good by their standards, I guess.
Yeah.
And probably going to lead to a mixed tag match that will happen sooner than it should, and then again with different stipulations.
Yeah.
uh, and honestly, I really don't have anything to add to this.
No, it was fine. We already talked about the blown production queue
I
and
think I'll
best
just take
music
the
didn't
Meltzer
hit.
approach and just be like, yeah, it happened.
It happened.
Um,
Yeah. It's a B minus match. It was fine.
C plus maybe.
Maybe C plus.
I don't understand how to grade things. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we had my hometown girl, Liv Morgan. She is from the town that I grew up in. I still think that she lived on the street behind me because there was this girl who did like trampoline wrestling with her brothers in the backyard, and I swear it was her. Could not be. Maybe it's just coincidence. Still from my hometown though. Faced off Becky Lynch, was not successful, but good showing by her.
Yeah.
Uh, Liv Morgan is a talented wrestler. What I don't understand is why they just decided, oh, she can cry on command. Well, that's your gimmick. You're the crybaby, basically.
Never let Vince know about what goes in your special skills on your acting resume,
You just
because
don't do it.
otherwise he's gonna make you puke.
Yeah. And
He's
I mean, it
gonna
she has
puke.
literally teardrop makeup. It's
Mhm.
like, just let her. Anyway.
Yep. Mhm.
But Becky Lynch, you can always, guarantee in having a good showing.
Yeah, she'll put on a solid match with anybody, and
And the two work good together. They
yeah,
really do.
yeah, they had pretty good
Um,
chemistry.
I would like to. I think that it's it's weird because they build, and then nothing,
Hmm.
and then you're like, well, where do you go from there? That's
Hmm.
always the toughest part. It's just you can't you expect the thing to happen, which is you are pretty much telegraphing that we should be cheering for her because you're gonna give her the belt, and then you
And then you
don't.
don't. Hmm.
I don't get it.
And the way that the division works is now she'll get shuffled back down, and somebody else is going to get boosted up for
Or
the
they'll have like
Mania
three more
feud,
matches against
or
each
they'll have
other.
3 more matches against each
You
other.
know,
But this was already the second one between the
yeah, I
two of
think
them,
so.
so
So the rematch of the
I don't know.
rematch will eventually be a
Yeah,
thing.
the rubber match, even though Becky's already won the first 2. Um,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, it's fine. It was a good match. It just doesn't. We've said it before. It doesn't mean anything.
right.
Because Becky comes out of it still the champion. Liv comes out of it still, not on Becky's level, which she shouldn't be. There shouldn't be anybody on Becky's level right now.
No.
Becky should be the focus of the division, but you should at least believe that, like, okay, well, she almost got her this time. She's gonna get her next time. And I didn't come
Yeah,
out of
a
that match
credible threat.
feeling that was the case. It just felt like another Becky win. So
It's weird. It's like
it's unfortunate.
there's never really any foresight into the booking. It seems it's just a lot of like, feel one. The world is ready
Becky
for
versus
Becky versus
Tamina.
Tamina. Ain't nobody meaner than Tamina.
Yeah.
Which you can do to the Gorillas of Destiny theme. Ain't nobody meaner than Tamina.
Yes, you can. I don't know that I'm ever going to hear that song the same way again.
Yep. Never. And then we had the 5-way I don't even know how to call it. It's not a fatal five-way. I guess it was. Yeah, that's what they called it. Um, Big E defending his championship against Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Seth freaking Rollins, and Brock Lesnar, who had been added. Uh, Big E had a fantastic video package that
Hmm.
showcased and celebrated his rise, his Money in the Bank win, his cash in, defending it successfully. And as soon as it was done, I knew he was going to lose
Yeah.
because they do this every time.
Hmm.
I I love Biggie. I think he is absolutely the guy that they should attach as, be our guy, be our
Yeah.
representation because the personality shines.
He's
People just
charming. He's
are
funny. He's
he is
yeah.
magnetic in getting people into just
Hmm.
it just everything about him works.
Yep.
Just I'm very happy for like how the Money in the Bank thing happened for him. I feel that this year it would have been more impressive had he won the Rumble, or if he was set to win the Rumble, and he
Hmm.
still could. To be fair, he still could.
I, without telegraphing a later segment in this show where we talk about our Mania predictions, I think that the Roman diagnosis has changed plans enough to where I think they might actually go with a Big E Rumble win. Um,
Yeah,
I think based on I think that that is still where they're gonna go, or it's where they're gonna go now. I don't know that that was the plan initially, but I think that might be the new plan.
I would hate for Roman to end up unfortunately in a situation where he has to drop the belt.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously his health comes first.
Of course.
I do kind of I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see if if anything at Royal Rumble, champ versus champ. Just to
Yeah.
like why not do a winner take all? Why not? I mean, they don't like the world championship. They just it's not it's not a it's a branding thing more so
Hmm.
than like caring about the legacy of the belt or whatever they are trying to propose. Listen, there is no legacy to this anymore. It stopped really being prolific in the 90s,
Hmm.
um, and like into the early 2000s. Uh, I feel like if they wanted just one belt, it would just be the Universal belt
Yeah.
and just have it be the Universal Championship. And I'm like, to be honest, okay, I get it. It's a branding thing
Hmm.
because that's what they're all about. Um, if it ended up being like a title unification match, with the Lesnar having the
And
world
Reigns.
title and
Yeah.
Roman having the Universal, and having Roman go over to have the Universal Championship, big big win.
Hmm.
Um, and then that would make Big E winning and dethroning Roman Reigns even that much special.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think they're going to do it because it makes sense. And that tends to be what happens.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how short this match was, though.
It was supposedly supposed to be. I can remember where I read this. It might have been Sean Sapp on Twitter from Fightful. I
No
think it
crap,
was him.
just sap.
That's right. That the match was 10 minutes shorter than it was supposed to be. I don't
Wow.
know if that was cut due to timing issues or if it was something like they had to call an audible for some reason in the ring, but that the original plan was that between entrances and the match and the post match, it was supposed to be 30 minutes and it wound up being 20.
I mean, Lesnar did great. He really
Oh,
did.
yeah.
And it made me want to see Big E versus Lesnar. When Big E came in with those lines on Lesnar,
Hmm.
he just, oh,
And
it
the
looked,
the pop when he got him up on his shoulder for the big ending.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm frozen all of a sudden. I
There
think
you
it's
are.
because I'm watching the video of Big E's moment right there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, this was really cool. And Bobby Lashley looked great. I honestly like everybody really looked great. I was just
Mhm.
surprised at how short the match
How
was.
quick it was.
But
Yeah.
it kind of in a weird way made sense. Eh, Lashley is such a true beast. I
Mhm.
absolutely love it.
it's amazing how much he has improved since
Yeah.
his first major push.
I will
Um,
never get tired of the spear through the barricade.
mhm,
Like, I think it's fun. I always
yeah.
like it.
I
Um,
enjoy how the announcers like telegraphed it this time. Like
yeah.
it not playing us for dumb. Like, oh, what's he gonna do? Like once
Yeah.
Brock got up
Well,
by
we
the
know. He's in
barricade
the
and
same spot he always
Lashley
is.
was on the end, like far away from him, like the announcers were like, "Oh no!" Like, yep, we know this spot. We've seen this spot 50 times before, but
And
uh,
that's where Pat McAfee comes in and just is like
yeah.
really celebrates those types of moments.
hmm Yeah, and how
Uh,
they bailed from the table when Rollins and Owens started clearing it off.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't want to
I
be
think
here
we
when
do.
it does." I mean, you
Um,
may not know specifically what move it's going to be, but you know what's about to happen to your table.
it's like, why are the Spanish commentator, like the Spanish announcing table trope has always been just like
Yeah.
those poor guys. They can never ever have a break with just having one night
Nope.
where, commentary doesn't isn't get killed because of them. Um, so yeah, what do you want to talk about now? We've got we just did a wrap up. We can do predictions. We can do awards.
Let's put a capper on 21 first before
All
getting
right.
into 22. So
You have
last
pulled up.
week on uh, the Pro Wrestling Simulated at PW Simulated Twitter account. I will fall on the sword here that it was dumb for me to post these at 7:18 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and expect a big turnout before last week's show. So we did not get hardly any votes. Um,
It
but we
happens
can at least still talk about some of the comments or the comment that we got, and still go through the nominees that I had listed, and if we want to change anything,
for sure.
and pick winners. So the first category that I put out there was show of the year. Now, Twitter limits you to 4 options in a poll. So the 4 that I provided were Wrestle Kingdom, Full Gear, Takeover Vengeance Day, and then other reply with your own pick. Um, I'm biased toward All Out because I was there. Um, and I think that's probably the show that had the biggest impact on the business this year.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know. I think top to bottom, the wrestling on Full Gear was probably better. Um, aside from, I don't. We'll get into it when we get to match of the year, but that Young Bucks Lucha Bros cage match from All Out, I
Oh
think
boy.
might have been better than any individual match on Full Gear. But there was nothing on Full Gear that was like Paul White versus QT Marshall.
Yeah. No offense to QT Marshall. Ah, my vote. I mean, honestly, I'm basing it purely on emotion and reaction because you always remember the thing you always remember will be the end of a show,
Mhm.
and All Out by far was the most memorable show,
Yeah.
and that's why it is my definitely gets my vote.
Yeah, it gets mine as well. I'm glad you said that because I was worried it was going to come across as too much like, oh, I was there, so it was the best one.
Right.
But there was no other moment in wrestling this year, last year, that that equaled the Punk debut
Right.
or the ending of the main event with Adam Cole being the swerve run in, turning heel, joining the elite, and then Brian Danielson coming out, or even the Ruby Soho. Um, just that show was just so full of like, okay, this is
And
what this
Suzuki.
promotion is now, and Suzuki. But it was like, okay, here's kind of a celebration of what we've done so far. This is what the promotion looks like now. Here's Ruby Soho. Here's CM Punk. Here's Adam Cole. Here's Brian Danielson. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then in the coming
It's
weeks, we've
insane.
added Red Dragon. We're probably almost certainly about to add Brody King, and probably the Briscoes, and maybe Keith Lee, and maybe Danhausen,
The
and
possibilities are endless, but
there's maybe Shane Strickland. There's
yeah, it's
yeah,
absolutely anything's possible.
yeah.
What else did we have?
The next category I had was feud of the year, where the nominees I listed were Edge versus Seth Rollins, Seth freaking Rollins, Hangman
You're
Adam
right. That's
Page
how his
against
new
Kenny
name is.
Omega, and Matt Cardona against everyone.
This is tough for me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna have to say, like, okay, if we're specifically talking about just that year, um, because to me, Page and Omega was a 2-year build,
Yes.
so that feud has been going on for that long.
hmm
In
Almost
terms of
since the very
what
first show.
people talked about more, absolutely Matt Cardona versus the independent wrestling
hmm
world.
Yeah. It's kind
Who
of
would have
wild to
thought?
think about it. Yeah. It's kind of wild to think that, like, the indie resurgence of 2021 was due in large part to Zack Ryder.
Yeah,
Like,
who
it's
knew?
like he like I had heard of GCW because I did. I mean, it's been around. It used to be Jersey Championship Wrestling before it changed
Yeah,
ownership and became Game Changer. Like, it's been around forever. It's a big deal on the indies, but it became like it surpassed like PWG and the other like top tier indie promotions in large part because of that one moment of Cardona showing up to confront Nick Gage doing the Cardona or the Moxley mannerisms before
yeah.
taking off the hood. And yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what a fantastic way to really revitalize your career. He even
Mhm.
said recently in an interview, he said, "Yeah, I think my run in WWE was more like my development into the wrestler that I was meant to be now." And I'm like,
Oof.
ooh. it,
But it's working.
it did great. I mean, he's just super automatic heat magnet to that type of
Mhm.
audience. Um, and GCW can very much be compared to like the ECW of
Mhm.
the 90s, and not just because of the hardcore element, but more for like that underground,
Mhm.
this is a, exclusive kind of thing for that kind of fan.
Well, and they even like to
Um,
do the lights out gimmick. We
yeah,
talked about that last week with the Malachi Black and the Darby and Sting run in. Uh, GCW does that really well. Lights go out, and I mean, in GCW's case, it's Matt Cardona or it's J E
or Jeff
double F
Jarrett.
J A double R E double T.
I mean, Mox is still the current champ, right?
He is. Yeah,
Okay.
they did not vacate the title when he went into rehab, so he is still the champion. Rumors are he might be at Hammerstein.
I
Um,
think
but
I think he had a goal in mind in terms of like
mhm.
when he wanted to be ready and back. So hopefully, again, with these kinds of things, I never try to hope like, well, I hope you get better soon so I can see you wrestle. No,
Yes,
I'm
yeah, exactly. I want to see
like I
you
want
in
to
the ring.
want you
I
to be
do want to
safe,
see you in the
healthy,
ring.
and happy,
Yeah.
and mentally stable, and being able to want to still do this. Um, so yeah, if he does show up, that I think that GCW fans are reasonable enough to know that with the
Mhm,
personal stuff going on, there's so much that the show already offers.
mhm.
I mean, to be honest, like it's big enough as it is to just be doing a sellout show in Hammerstein.
Yeah.
That is first. That's like it's a legendary
Mhm.
venue in indie wrestling in general. Um, some of ECW's best shows were in that
Yep.
arena.
I
Uh,
mean, the first One Night Stand, which
yeah,
is still maybe one of my favorite pay-per-views of the last well, it was 2005, wasn't it? So the last
yeah,
20 years.
and it's got such an iconic look to it.
Mhm.
It's always the model venue that I used in create an arena.
Mhm.
It's just I
Yeah.
love the look of it.
You got the
But
balconies and yeah, it's
yeah, Matt
fantastic venue.
Cardona, man, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yep, it's
And
working.
maybe he might even become Impact World Champion. There's just
Maybe.
that the way that is going. Uh, I the sky's the limit. I want to see him and Danhausen in some sort of collector's item match. Uh, just because of the two, um, they're big collecting,
Yeah.
toy collecting fans. So let's say and I've seen in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla how much Legos are just as effective as thumbtacks.
Mhm.
Oh.
When I was a kid, well, when I was a middle schooler into early high schooler, and I would do matches with my Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy in the basement. Um, Obviously, I didn't have access to, or quite frankly, the courage to dump a bag full of thumbtacks on the mat and take a bump. But I would do it on the Legos,
Yeah.
uh, and that hurts. That hurts a lot.
You ever
Taking a
do
bump
you
on
ever
the
do
Legos.
you ever step on one Lego just by
Uh huh.
accident?
Uh huh. Yep.
Your foot is dead the rest
Yep.
of the day.
That was what gave me the idea of I could do a flip bump onto Legos
No.
once.
No, you
Uh,
can't. You
you
will die.
can once,
I would love
and
to
then you never do it
see.
again.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is a D4. It is basically a caltrip.
Oh, man.
You throw a bunch of these into the ring? No.
I mean,
No.
Peter Avalon will tell you all about it. He took a bump
Absolutely.
on him against Brandon Cutler.
I
It
really
reminds
was
me,
hoping for a spot like that when he was still doing his
yeah.
gimmick. And I
I
was
just
very
finally got
satisfied that
around
happened.
to rewatching. I rewatched Kung Pao Enter the Fist recently. Which
That's a
was
lot of nuts.
that's a lot of nuts.
Still gets me every time.
We we trained him wrong on purpose as a joke. Um,
My face to your foot.
I'm bleeding, which makes me the victor.
I could quote that movie all day.
Oh yeah. But when he's like trying to pull the like the
Yeah,
pyramids
the
off of
small, like,
Master
caltrip.
Betty's armor, that I always think now that I've gotten into D&D, I think like, ooh, that's like you got to be careful when you make that move
You
because
gotta
you're
be
just
very
gonna put
careful.
those right through your
I mean,
hand.
anytime I've stepped on one of these when my son accidentally like drops one, it's
Mhm.
D4 damage. It's
Mm.
just and it
Mm.
hurts every time.
Tiger.
Your clothes are red.
Bird.
I'm gonna go watch that again today after this.
It's so good.
There's no
It's
question.
on.
I have to watch it now. It's all your
I
fault.
think it's on Prime or
It's
Hulu. I
on
don't
Netflix,
remember.
I think.
Oh, is it Netflix? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on one of the major streaming platforms. That's how I watched it.
So our next award.
Promotion of the year. I kind of feel like I don't even need to list the nominees here, though, because it was 2021 was the year of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, they really like you got to look at on the basis of like not so much like, oh, it's the cool new thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's part recency bias, no question. But compare it to how they handled doing the pandemic versus how WWE did.
Mhm.
Or even, New Japan or Ring of Honor or like WWE to me would be very last in terms of just like how they handled their situation and eventually got back to where they are now.
Mhm.
They
For now, we'll see what happens when new restrictions come
Right.
in. What that's going to do to
We'll
them.
see. John Moxley carried the brand
Mhm.
in a show where no one was ever really watching
Yep.
in front of him and put on amazing matches.
Mhm.
We got the emergence of the TNT championship and really like showing, it's not just a secondary belt.
Mhm.
It's as much a main event championship as any other ones. And just, when you could still have, I mean, Sting debuted and
Yeah.
it was huge. And even though there was just a minimal crowd that was like safely distanced and everything, it sounded like there were thousands in there.
Mhm.
That's how much of a buzz he was able to generate.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Sting!
My son's trying to like have my attention there for a
Hey,
second.
Daniel.
But yeah, I definitely feel like that's how I am comparing it, is how they handle being able to do a show in front of no one. And Ring of Honor is up there too, because just of the fact that they really put a brand new emphasis on their pure wrestling, and they took the opportunity to be like, let's just focus immediately on just the old school competition of two guys in the ring.
Yep.
And it worked in their favor for that.
Yep. Took it
So
back to basics.
That's where I would compare it to.
Yep. 100% agreed. Match of the year. This one gets tricky because the ones that I listed as nominees were Takagi versus Ospreay, From was that Dontaku when they had that match? Um, Lucha Bros against the Young Bucks, the cage match from All Out,
Oh.
or Dragunov versus Volter from
Oh.
one of the takeovers that I don't remember which one it
God, they
was.
each deserve their own category, though.
Yeah,
Like,
so I tried to pick one from each of the major promotions because you could do a top three of just Japan or
yeah,
just
just those three.
WWE or just AEW. It's a lot of
Ugh.
options.
I don't know. I'd probably be undecided on it. I mean,
Just
I'd say the cage match because it was a legit cage match,
mhm,
like the way it's meant to be done.
yes,
You don't escape a cage match. You're not supposed to. The whole point
no,
is to keep you inside
it's to
because
keep
of
people
all
out.
the
Yeah,
interference and all
hmm,
the other stuff.
yep,
And I
which
knew that
worked.
Phoenix was going to fly off the top of the cage.
Uh-huh.
I was
Yep.
not dissatisfied.
Nope. As soon as you saw the way that cage was built and you saw that little ledge running around the outside, it's like, oh, Phoenix is going to do something cool.
Yeah, and he did.
He sure did. He
Their
sure did.
cage is really tall.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's very impressive in person because I've seen cage matches before in person, but that one just keeps going up and up
Yeah,
and up and
it
up.
feels like it's like 3 times. Like
It's
you expect that there's one more tier of height.
yeah,
Um,
it's quite tall.
do you remember watching the triple tier cage match in
I
WCW?
do. Hmm. Which one? The one from the pay per view or the one from Nitro where Kevin Nash just hung out at the bottom and waited for the other guys to come down to him?
I will always applaud Kevin Nash on being the smartest wrestler
Uh huh.
alive.
Yeah, that was really move number 6.
Yeah,
Somewhere in the ballpark of
don't
Disquicker.
do anything.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Do the hair
It
flip.
can hurt if you don't do anything.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
His quadriceps survived that match
eugh.
because he he just hang out in the bottom ring, let DDP and Canyon and Arquette. Was that the other
Yeah,
three in that one? Because the pay-per-view match was the one that had Arquette and Bischoff
right.
and DDP and I
And they
don't
just
remember who the
handed
fourth
the
guy
belt
was.
to Nash and then was just like, whoop.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't a waste of time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Good television. Well done. Well done, Vince.
Oh man. God, yeah, I'm gonna have to say the cage match.
I think
Yeah,
I'm going with the cage match as well. Strong late contender, the Hangman and Danielson 1 hour draw.
yeah.
Um, but
It's
I
just because it's you just don't see these kinds of matches
mm-mm,
regularly anymore,
nope.
and that's what makes it special.
Yep.
Um, and it's a thrill to watch it and just be completely invested, which
Yeah.
is something that like I certainly took for granted with a lot of prior, watching and almost a complete drop off.
Yeah.
I'm glad I discovered more independent promotions and international stuff because it just helped my exposure to the thing that I still liked watching.
Yeah.
And I encourage all people to do that.
Well, and I've said for a couple of years now at this point, AEW kind of saved my fandom because AEW, the lead up to the first couple of AEW shows, got me into watching more independent stuff so that I knew more about these guys before I saw them on TV.
Yeah.
Because after, like, I tried again in like, after giving up on it entirely in 2013, I gave it a shot in 2016. It still wasn't for me. That was the year that Triple H won the title in the Rumble, right? It was 2016.
Yeah. I
Um,
kind of like was only like watching the big pay-per-views
yeah,
after 2012. Like I really just
yeah,
like I was kind of invested with Impact for a bit just because I saw like again fresher faces
mhm.
and
And
talents that I knew from the indies.
I was watching NXT every week and all the
Yeah, that
takeovers
was
and
when
stuff.
NXT showed up. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, cool,
Yeah,
something new.
but I had basically given up around 2016, and then I tried again in 2018, and then they started doing the stuff with the Saudis, and I was like, no, 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 I'm done. I'm not a wrestling fan
Yeah,
anymore.
that really
Um,
ruined it for me with my reputation with them or
yeah,
my relationship with WWE.
yeah. But then when AEW came along, um, that it made me a fan again. Like it was,
For sure.
I looked forward to it every way. I enjoyed talking about it with my friends. I
I wasn't embarrassed to say I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I mean, I still am when I'm on Twitter, but
I mean, to be honest, it's just like it made it cool to enjoy a show again
yes,
instead of like forcing yourself to find things to like.
right. I've been doing this since 1993, so I need to set aside 3 hours for myself every Monday night for
Right.
this thing that I used to love, and maybe one day will again. Like, no,
Yeah,
I
like
look
I can't
forward to
hold
Wednesday
out
and Friday
hope.
nights. Yeah, yeah.
um so yeah, I would definitely, I mean, I would say a strong contender for at least for coming back from what were could have been disastrous years was Impact.
Mhm.
Um Scott Demore really helped
Yes.
changing the way that, the kind of eliminating their past
Mhm.
without not acknowledging it,
Right.
um, and just really doing a good job of rebranding the show.
Yeah. He
Where
changed the culture, which
it's
was
like you
big.
could still like silly things in wrestling as
Mhm.
long as it's booked well, and that's what
Right.
they did.
Yes.
So
Yes,
good,
100%.
good on Impact for
And
being
I
able
love what
to
Impact is
stick
doing with
around.
their Twitch channel, where it's,
Yeah,
all of their new stuff shows up on Twitch, but they also it's a 24-hour channel, so you can pop on and be like, "Oh, I've heard really good things about this three-way from Unbreakable between Daniels and AJ and Samoa Joe. I'm just gonna watch this because it's streaming now
yeah.
because
They
they
also
have
have it. I have it
20."
on my smart TV. It
Mhm.
pops up as one of the channels. It's just it's really cool.
Yep.
Just to be able to see all that stuff, because I remember like watching the very early pay-per-views, and then just before they jumped to Spike TV, and when like Raven finally won
Mhm.
the NWA championship. um it was cool, like seeing Kurt Angle debut and all that kind of stuff. Those big like jumps to it, like
Mhm.
what is so and so doing in the Impact Zone, like became
Yes.
a meme. But it's cool to see it now. I hope that they find a good new home base. I think they had intended to be kind of transferring to Las Vegas, um, especially with that like new super multi like gigantic screen theater that is being built outside the
Mhm.
MGM. Which,
Yeah.
just as a theme park nerd, I'm like, I want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could totally see them doing some cool stuff in Vegas, and hopefully, be the show they deserve to be,
Yeah.
um, with a great talent roster. Um, I would say an unsung hero promotion is Major League Wrestling,
Yes.
uh, with the addition of the Azteca Underground, which is kind of like their reboot of Lucha Underground, uh, kind of like taking some of the continuity and putting it into their MLW world. The former Dario Cuerto, who I love that actor. I love
Yes.
his enthusiasm. His is just the way he can rile up a crowd. I'm like, this is how you do an authority figure.
Mhm.
Because if you're gonna do it, go all out. Why not make him
Yeah.
a crime boss? Like
Right. Yeah, exactly.
that's basically what he did.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, I mean, like the very first episode of Lucha Underground was him coming out with his briefcase with $10,000, and then he winds up using it to pay off Big Rick and
And then like they get
for
into like the whole reason he's doing it is because he has like a supernatural debt with the people
uh
that he like basically traded his soul for.
Yep.
I was like, why not? Let's
Sure.
go.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Uh,
Let's turn wrestling into a telenovela.
That's the thing. It's like if you're gonna do it, commit. And if you commit, it makes me more invested.
Yep. And
I don't care
MLW
what Jim
committed this
Cornette
year
says. I
or
never
last
really
year.
do. But yeah, and any other awards that we had? Or
Yep. We still got a couple left. We've
yeah,
got
okay.
Tag Team of the Year, where I had listed the Young Bucks, the Usos, and the Dangerous Techers as the nominees. But of course, you could also throw in, uh, the Lucha Bros, FTR,
Hmm.
New Day, uh, Street Profits, RK Bro, um, and
It does
one of my
become a
favorite
contextual thing,
usernames, uh,
Like, there are a lot of
Brio.
caveats to these.
Yeah. Brian A Maniac, aka or possibly Brianna Maniac. Uh no, probably Brian A. But their Twitter username is Brio Mizunami. Um which is just a great name, brought up the Best Bros from Gato Move as a potential nominee, which is Balian Aiki and Mei Saruga, who
It's like I've said time and time again, folks. You will become. Don't worry about Duolingo. Watch our show. You will learn new languages.
yeah.
I've learned
Um,
more Spanish and Japanese than I probably ever will.
Nueva Generación Dinamita, which is a good ad. We've talked about how like I never watched Gato Move up until a few months ago, so I'd never seen Mei Saruga or Balianaki or anybody else from that roster really before. I'd seen a little bit of because Mei Saruga also works as May Saint Michelle, so she's been in like DDT and a couple of the promotions like that. So I had seen a little bit of her, but I really wasn't familiar with Aki. But yeah, Best Bros, that's a good shout out. I don't know that they're quite on the level of the Bucks or the Usos or
I think it's
Taichi
more,
and Saber or
yeah, like they got to get the reps in,
yeah, yeah,
with more
exactly. And
exposure.
they need a little more exposure. Like
Yeah,
Gato Move is great, but it's like the fifth biggest promotion in Japan right now.
yeah, that's
So
true. Um, God, it's hard. Again, this is just there's so many other qualifiers to how to pick.
yeah.
I will say I am constantly entertained by the Bucks.
Mhm.
Um, they just find more ways to annoy me in like the fun
Yes.
way. I don't know why Nick Jackson decides to like at the end of his promos, but it gets me every
But it
time.
works.
It gets me every time, even though I know I should see it coming. Um, Matt is insufferable in his
Yes.
promos,
Yes.
uh, and just so freaking obnoxious. And I want to see him get hurt, like that,
Mhm.
but obviously the character. I want to see, like
Yes. Yeah.
him get his
It's
just
effective heel
deserved.
heat. It's
Yeah,
what you want your heel tag teams to be. So yeah, for me, because I wanted to make sure that I listed one from every promotion or all the major promotions, which is why I picked the three that I did as the nominees. But for me, it's a two-horse race within AEW between the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. Because the Lucha
yeah.
Bros, not just in AEW, but also they won the AAA titles and had a good run with those before dropping them to FTR. And
Well, technically, they lost them to
I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah,
the frog, the super
yeah,
frog.
the super Los Super Rana or
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yes, FTR is defending them
Yes. Yeah.
on behalf of Los Super Rana, but yeah, you're right. You're right. I stand corrected. Uh, but I mean, all that to say the Lucha Bros had as good a year as anybody, and I mean, there's also some really good stuff going on in AAA right now in their tag division. But as great as like
It's hard to
Los,
find. It's hard to
exactly,
find to watch.
that's exactly right. That's really the big thing holding them back is like as great as Los Jinetes del Aire are, nobody outside of Mexico is watching Mistezis Jr. and El
Yeah.
Hijo del Vikingo and those guys.
And I hope the stuff between MLW and AAA gets settled just so that like we can have that American distribution.
Mhm.
Because I remember it used to be on TV and
Yeah,
then it just disappeared. Like I watched it on the Spanish television networks. It was the only way I could watch,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was
They
great.
had a weekly show on Univision.
Yeah, so well, we'll hope for that for 2022.
Here's hoping.
2020
Uh,
goes.
then we've also got the male wrestler of the year, which I listed Kenny Omega, Roman Reigns as Kota Ibushi as the three nominees. But again, that was just going for one from each promotion. You could definitely throw Big E in there as part of the conversation. Hangman,
This may
Brian
surprise you.
Danielson making a late
I'm gonna
run.
say Roman. I think he had one of the best years of his career, and he certainly helped keep, he kept SmackDown relevant.
Oh yes,
Um, he really finally came into his own. Um, Something that should have happened, a while. Um, but man, like he finally got to be the cool badass that we've always
Mhm.
just wanted to see, and
Yeah,
since his time in the
since the
Shield.
Shield. We've
Yeah,
known he could be this. They never wanted to do it with him, and 2021 was finally his year. And I agree. As great as Kenny was, and as great as Kenny's matches were, he also missed decent chunks of time in
yeah,
2021, whether it was travel or whether it was injuries. Um, Roman was there week in, week out. He had a kind of a new lease on life after his cancer went into remission, and up until yesterday's COVID diagnosis, 2021 was his most consistent in ring year. It was his best character year. I'm with you. I'm also Roman gets my vote for that.
I I honestly want him to still, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually keeps the belt after Mania, like if he
I
keeps
wouldn't either.
going.
Would not
Because
surprise me.
you know it's hard to just they what he kind of feels like one of the last bigger stars that
Mhm.
they've made,
Yeah.
and like put the time and the effort into it.
Hmm. He's definitely the biggest star they've made since Cena.
Oh, for sure.
And that's,
Yeah,
when you consider the timing of it, you know, there's usually about a 6 or 7 year gap between major stars being built in WWE. It was Hogan in the mid 80s, Brett in the early 90s, Austin in the late 90s,
hmm
Cena in, probably about 04, 05 was when he started to become John Cena. And then they waited over a decade. Like they kind of tried with Punk, they kind of tried with Danielson, they kind of tried with Lashley, but Reigns was really was the next kind of in that line of the guy, and it was a much longer gap between top draws than it had. I guess Lesnar, but Lesnar was never full time when he was
no,
the top guy. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with Roman on this one. The all hail the tribal chief.
we've got
Um,
to we acknowledge.
that's right. The head of the table, and
Absolutely.
then I also had female wrestler of the year, where I listed
Britt
Bianca
Baker.
Belair, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and
It's
Deanna
Britt Baker.
Purrazzo. But yeah, it's Britt.
It's Britt Baker.
It's Britt Baker. It's the other two were there because I had to pick three. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
it was nobody had a
it's
year in
very,
women's
very
wrestling.
hard to argue
Yeah,
that
yeah,
anyone has had and maybe in wrestling has had a better year than
yeah,
Britt Baker.
yep.
Just completely owning it,
Hmm.
taking in all the like good criticism, bad criticism,
Hmm.
following up, like just evolving as a character, as a
Yep.
wrestler, um, and doing Jericho's stuff better than Jericho.
Yes, the whole role models gimmick, so good.
Absolutely.
So good. Yeah, it's Brit for me. Bianca had a great year. Perazzo had a great year. Utami Hayashishida in Stardom had a great year. You know, you could Thunder Rosa had a great year. Lots of contenders for this, but for me, nobody had a better 2021 in women's wrestling, at least, than Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
DMD.
So that brings us to the final category, which is overall wrestler of the year. Roman Reigns or Dr. Britt Baker. Or I guess you can throw, Young Bucks or Lucha Bros if you want to include a tag team.
Well, I
Um,
mean, I think considering the two we've picked, um, let's see. Okay, I would say, it's hard to pick between the two of them
yeah.
because of they really have had their fair share of full recognition that they deserve for like being able to come into their own.
Hmm.
Um, and there's no question that when eventually the story presents itself to turn face, they
Hmm.
will still carry that following with them, as
Yes.
long as they don't, insult the
Change everything
intelligence of
about
the
the character.
audience
Yeah.
and stop doing what made them like them in the first place.
Which is why it
Roman is
took
at
so
more
long
at
for
risk
Roman
at
to
that than
recover.
Brit.
Yeah.
Um, but for sure, I think that you really can't top the two of them for having as good as careers as they've had for 2021. So yeah, I just I don't I it's tough to debate between the two of them because I love both.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I concede on that one.
I am going to like 50 and a half to 49 and a half. Give it to Britt on this basis. I don't think anybody could have a better in any women's division in the US better year than Britt had. I think that's
Yeah,
probably the peak of what we're going to see from Britt. As much as I love her and as much as I think she's still going to be great going forward, I don't think she's ever going to have another year like she had in 2021. Just because the year was so
yeah,
good, I don't know how you top that.
it's
I
hard.
think
It's hard
I
to do.
think Roman could still conceivably be better in 2022, 2023, 2024 than he was in 2021. So I'm going to hold off on giving Roman Wrestler of the Year because I think there are still better years ahead for him.
Fair point.
So Britt by the narrowest of margins gets it for me.
So why don't we take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will look ahead into 2022 and see what we think may happen in terms of just wrestling across the spectrum.
Yeah,
So we will be right back in
let's do it.
5, folks. We'll see you then. Welcome back
Hey, look at
to
that.
Pro Wrestling Simulated.
Almost forgot to put
Our
my headset back on.
we are looking ahead now into 2022. Thank you for joining us wherever you're watching from. I'm Mike. That's bad, of course. And a big year of what could be, what may not be, and just sometimes some things are just complete question marks.
Yeah, there's a whole
First
lot
off,
up in the air right now.
I think the biggest elephant in the room is will Ring of Honor come back actually in April? Joe Koff, the CEO, says yes. That is a matter of when and not if. They have never really elaborated on what this intent of a new Ring of Honor will be. Will it even be called Ring of Honor still? Will the championships be rebooted? Will there be it become like a once a month super indie show? Will it even be on television? I don't know. All I know is that Final Battle really was treated like a real
The end of an
goodbye
era. Yeah.
to everything.
Yep.
So, we've got Jonathan Gresham holding the I guess I'll just call it the interim world championship.
I think that's probably
Bandito
the best way.
is defending the world championship at Terminus. Gresham is defending his world title against Chris Sabin on the next Impact Wrestling pay-per-view. I believe it's Hard to Kill, I think it is.
I think that's right.
Not sure.
Look it up.
And it's very strange to see it's personally, I feel like just start fresh. New name, new design, new logo, new everything. Because it will never be the Ring of Honor it was.
Right. It is Hard to Kill this Saturday night.
It's just you can, and you wouldn't be able to live up to people's expectations with the anytime a comic book has the all new, all different. It's no, not you're going to go back to status quo. So,
unless you're Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yeah, exactly. That changed the game.
Yeah, it was also in 1975.
Yeah,
so
back when you could do it.
Yeah, the track record since then not been so great.
By the way, if you want to see comic book and pop culture characters actually face off in a wrestling ring, watch Fantasy Cosplay Pro Wrestling. It is it's on Facebook and they've got a great Twitch account. It's the only time you will see Loki versus Deadpool versus Santa Claus. It's just really they had Mickey Mouse play a Vince McMahon type character. And Black Widow beat the hell out of him. There was one exchange I saw in ring where Loki goes up to, and now these are independent wrestlers portraying licensed characters.
Right, yes.
In the multiverse ring, basically. And he was like, you've obliterated your fan base here in this universe, but I guess you're used to being a goof when it comes to saving the universe. And everyone was like, oh, they're totally in on it. It's great.
That's fun.
So but my prediction though in terms of indie wrestling is I feel like we're gonna have a lot more variety of niche wrestling and a lot more catering, being okay with catering to certain audiences because everyone wants to see shows all over the place. And if you're just having the same kind of if you here's the thing, you can have a promotion that's just good family fun wrestling. You can have a hardcore wrestling promotion. You can have one that is circus themed, like Big Top Wrestling, which I've seen. Or you never know who's going to show up kind of all-star promotion. Let it run the gamut because variety is the spice of life, and especially in wrestling.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll do a show one day. I'll keep saying it until
we've been talking about
I'm gonna keep
PWS
saying it until I'm
IRL.
gonna manifest it into
Yeah,
existence.
that's our unofficial New Year's resolution, is to
Yeah.
eventually put
And
on a
that
show.
eventually, once the we've got enough people who actually care about this show, we may have people who have shown up on the list
Yeah,
be in our show.
maybe.
I've
I mean,
honestly, like, I've literally projected like the whole show out in my head and where the venue is, like the whole idea, like I've got it in my mind. But I will save that.
someday,
You never know.
someday, Mike.
Someday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right. I think the wrestling industry is going to follow the lead that the rest of the entertainment industry has, which is segmentation. There is, you've already got WWE, which theoretically caters to everyone. They've got the comedy, they've got the brawlers, they've got the technicians, they've got a little bit of everything in a
It's
3
like
hour
you
show.
said, it's a wrestling show. It's a TV show about people trying to put on a wrestling show.
Yes, it's the Muppets
It
with a
is.
ring.
It's the Muppet Show.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Um, but and I think you're going to see, especially on the indie scene, you're going to see more segmented. You're going to see, GCW embracing that more kind of hardcore with elements of comedy style. You're going to see big shows like Joey Janela's Spring Break and Effie's Big Gay Wrestling Brunch or whatever.
Bloodsport.
Uh, Bloodsport. Um, Our Culture Pro Wrestling is supposed to launch in 2022, which is going to be a minority focused promotion, which should be awesome. I've been following them on Facebook. I think they sounds like they've got all their ducks in a row for what should be a cool launch targeting underrepresented communities in pro wrestling. I think that's going to be what it's going to basically become like what cable TV is now,
Yeah,
where
you,
or
you get
streaming
you should get
services.
a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
A buffet is good. I mean, that's what AEW presents itself basically as, like a buffet of
Mhm.
different wrestling all the time,
Yeah.
which helps
Yeah.
because you get talents get exposure in the proper way. And again, you can have your local, like, small independent show. Um, excuse me.
Of course.
And then you can also have, like, the big charity shows, or I would love
Yeah.
to see an entire promotion that's solely tournament based,
Oh, that
like
would be great.
a promotion that basically has, like, once a year their equivalent of a G1 climax,
Mhm.
like couple, like it takes place entirely in the spring into the summer.
Mhm.
It's all of these, like, you can tour it to different places. Then at the end of the year, there's your winner, almost
Like pro sports.
like ECWA's old
The
Super 8
Super
used to
8.
be.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was a platform for indie wrestling
it was.
to be a
And they
part of
still
it.
run it every year. It's just not
They do. They
the
absolutely do.
big deal that it
I'm friends
was.
with a former winner, with
Yeah.
two former winners, actually.
Yeah. It's I've always thought that there's money to be made if somebody wanted to make a true, like, pro wrestling as a professional sport promotion where you have teams based in cities with names.
Yes.
You have, every team has a male singles wrestler, a female singles wrestler, a tag team, and a
Right.
trio, something like that. And then every week it's okay. This week on, Major League Wrestling's already taken, but
Yeah.
the National Wrestling League, it's
Right.
the Cincinnati against Baltimore, and
Yeah.
it's the best wrestlers from either from those cities, or at the beginning of the season you have a draft. You have
Yeah.
all the team captains, like, representing their cities, like,
It's a fun
Rob
way to do stable wrestling.
yeah, Rob Van Dam is the captain of the Detroit team,
Right.
and so he gets to pick on draft day what wrestlers he wants on his team. And there's a pool of wrestlers. You advertise them in advance. Danhausen has signed with the National Wrestling League and is eligible for the 2022
Right.
draft. And then he gets whatever team takes him, and now he's their singles guy for that season. And then you have just head to head records, leads into a playoffs, leads into a champion at the end of the year, and then you start over the next year.
Why
that
aren't we doing this?
I think that done right could be awesome.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
angel investors out there, we've got it. We figured it out.
this shoulder. That's
Help
the
us
angel.
out. We figured it out. We'll
I'm
make
telling
it.
you,
We'll make it a 6-month promotion.
Yeah.
So it'll literally have its own season.
Yep. March 1st to August 31st.
There you go.
Spring and summer, and then we take the fall and winter off,
Mark
and then
Cuban,
go back.
sign us up.
I'm just
We'll go on
saying.
the Shark
I think
or go on a Shark Tank.
there's we're seeking $3 million for a 33% share.
I have no idea how any of that works.
I don't either. I think we'll probably need $3 million
But just
to
throw
launch it.
numbers at them.
Yeah, and there'll be a third owner. You'll have 33%. I'll have 33%.
We'll have Scott Steiner just do his math in front of
right.
them, confuse them to the point of being like, "This is a good idea."
We need someone with 123 and a third percent ownership stake.
If I take my percentage of your sales, it's still not enough to be the shares amount.
Okay, I take it back. Rob Van Dam is not the captain of the Detroit team. It's
Scott
the,
Steiner and the
the
Michigan
Detroit
Maniacs.
Gremlins with their joint captains, Scott and Rick.
Speaking of Steiner, I am going to say that Braun Breaker, otherwise known as Rex Steiner, the much better name,
otherwise known as Bronson Rex Steiner,
will be champion by before Mania.
Yes. Yeah, he will be defending the title Mania weekend at whatever that takeover show will be.
And he may be the first one of NXT 2.0 to have the post-Mania debut. Again, I feel like he's the most marketable one. I mean, they dropped Von Wagner from being Adam Pearce's bodyguard or whatever it was going to be. He showed up once, and Vince was like, "Nah." So there's no way to ever predict your career when you work there.
In his defense, he is just a simple caveman.
That guy just...
It's like somebody went into Create a Wrestler and changed brow depth to 100. Like, it's...
Again, I'm sure these are good people, but...
Oh, yeah. And he's got wrestling in his blood. He's Wayne Bloom's son.
But, like, it's the Performance Center itself that really, like, just hinders and can be stalwart to potentially good, like, high caliber talents. Mm-hmm. Some naturally are able to move past that and just exist within that world and be the best version of that style that they can give. Which to me is Braun Breaker. Just natural charisma, natural athleticism. It's clear that they're building him to be that guy.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was going to be LA Knight. I love Eli Drake. I feel like he's absolutely the kind of guy that would fit well in the sports entertainment model.
Yes.
But no, they almost have quickly moved on from him, which is a shame.
I think it was all
he's
over
been
for
an
him
NXT guy since day one.
That's right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, that was kind of the nail in his coffin, was when they aligned him with Ciampa's team instead of Breaker's team, because he's not an old school NXT guy. He's been around less than a year in NXT, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It was an odd choice, but it was definitely kind of okay. It's like there's a Simpsons moment that I'm blanking on. Oh, with the sheep at the petting zoo.
Yeah,
when there's like the really cute one, and then another one walks in, and they just like push it out of the way.
That was your turn.
That was LA Knight, and the cute little one is Braun Breaker.
Yeah. Let's see. In terms of international stuff, there's what I'd like to happen versus what I think will happen. I hope that New Japan's USA, basically like extension promotion, would love to see them get into some bigger venues. I don't mind them being like a West Coast territory for the most part, because it's easy for them to transport talents from Japan to California. Right. I would like to see them be able to help AEW open up that door to getting into West Coast venues. Talent exchange is always fun to see, so I like seeing that. New Japan Strong has been a really good show, and I really like Tom Lawler. Like, I just really like him. He's just Like he's one of those guys where you're like, you're a legit badass
Yeah. He had a big 2021, but I think Lawler is poised to be the breakout star of 2022.
for
I think
sure.
more exposure for Strong, and now that he's the strong open weight champion, get him onto get him onto Wrestle Kingdom. Let
Yes.
that audience see him do his thing.
Even if it's a pre-recorded match that is just shown only
Oh
to the
yeah.
stream,
Hmm.
like people are gonna watch it.
Yep.
I know obviously for safety reasons you can't, like, considering the world situation we're in.
Right.
Um, it's a shame that we're not going to be able to hear the audience like we have been.
Yeah.
And I understand their ruling. I think it's great that there's a culture that is able to actually follow the rules when they are told, please don't cheer.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's not the same when you watch, especially with Wrestle Kingdom coming up. Um, the biggest show now, it's 3 nights that they're doing it. The
Yes.
first two just the traditional matches, and then night 3 is New Japan versus Noah, which is insane.
Hmm. Yeah.
Those were two shows that no one ever thought were going to touch each other again, because there
Nope.
was a lot of bad blood between the two promotions for a long
Yeah.
time.
Well, I mean,
When
Noah grew out of people leaving New
Yeah,
Japan. It was an exodus of New Japan's top guys that went and created Noah in the first place that crippled New Japan for a few years.
I think one of the turnarounds was when Suzuki Gun showed up
Hmm.
post Wrestle Kingdom, um, and did basically their invasion angle, beat the living piss out of everybody.
Hmm.
And I that was one of my first like real exposures to them. Um, I think I got into New Japan. I probably said this before, but was I think it was Wrestle Kingdom 8, because it was just one of the everyone was talking about um, Prince Devitt, and I
Hmm.
I didn't know what who that was or what was going on, so I checked it out, and it was just like, oh, this is a whole different thing. I think it was like first time I've seen the Young Bucks was over there, and then eventually finding out more about Pro Wrestling Guerrilla from, yeah, and it was
Hmm.
great that like one thing, those were a good couple of years where all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's so much more out there.
Yeah,
And
kind of seeded the
I hope
idea.
that's what happens with the international scene. Granted, done safely and
Yes.
rightly.
Yeah.
Um,
The
I
big
would
thing
love.
I want to
I
see.
think AAA would actually. AAA should do. God willing, all this rights and stuff gets
Mhm.
passed by, and they're able to settle everything with MLW. Um, if they do get that spin-off promotion going of Azteca Underground, I would love to see that be their extension into the States.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of like a soft reboot of Lucha Underground in a way.
Yeah.
And
That's the big
yeah,
thing I want to see in 2022 from international wrestling is I want AAA back on weekly TV. Like I appreciate the people that are making it accessible for people
yeah.
in the states that don't have access to it um through, less than legal means, but it's it is literally the only way we can watch it in the states
Yeah.
because there's no streaming deal, there's no cable deal. I would like you. I want to see that resolved fairly, equitably. I want everybody to get what they want out of the deal. But mostly, I want people to see Hijo del Vikingo. I
Right.
want people to see, I mean, even like mid card guys like Commander is like
Yeah.
not a household name in the states, but could be. He's very exciting.
Psycho
Um,
Circus.
it's the Psycho Circus. How
That's our
over would
boys.
Psycho Clown be in AEW?
Oh.
Like if Psycho
Well, there's
Clown,
also probably like the matter of like visas and
right?
all that stuff.
Yeah, but I mean they've also they've been through all that with Andrade and with the Lucha Bros, and so I don't know. We'd have to see, but yeah, I want to see AAA, and I'd love to see a rebound year for CMLL
Yeah.
because they have been, they put on some good shows in 2021, but I
I
mean
think they
they
tried to
just.
actually like they tried to get bought by WWE,
Mhm,
but the thing is they own certain arenas
yeah,
in Mexico. And in order for them to be sold, they would also have to sell the arenas, and Vince did not want to own property.
right.
because then he could be only exclusive to those venues.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
CML would need to sell the venues first before Vince would consider it. And I don't think they're willing to, because those venues are a big part of
I
their.
think they own Arena Mexico?
I think they do own Arena
Yeah.
Mexico. Yeah. So I would love to see CMLL on the rise again, just so that, not that AAA is not doing well without direct Mexican competition, because they are doing very well. But at this point, it's the dying days of WCW and CMLL,
Yeah.
where, they just probably their biggest draw was NGD, and they all just jumped to AAA. Now AAA has Quattrero and Forestero and Sansone.
Yeah, it did
And
kind of go back and forth between them of who was going to be the more like dominant promotion in Mexico, and AAA right now is in the lead.
AAA's in the league, and not the least of which is because they've got that relationship with, former mega champion Kenny Omega and the Lucha Bros, and they've got the mainstream wrestlers on their shows. And CMLL, like, not a knock on Hechicero, but Hechicero isn't a household name.
Right.
Hechicero isn't the kind of guy who's drawing in 60,000 people for a pay-per-view. Kenny Omega is, and now by beating him, Hijo del Vikingo gets that rub and is now seen as on that level in Mexico.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why I keep freezing. I think I may have to change my camera. I'm not even high definition. Oh, you can't change right there. Well, whatever.
Yeah, it's what it is. And he's gone, and he's back.
Scoot over a little bit.
There you go. Professional show business.
Always. We are anything if not the most professional. I don't know how grammar works.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's next, at least in the next coming months, up until Mania for WWE. Any predictions in terms of Rumble?
I am guessing. I haven't really made a pick on the women's side. I would love it to be Nikki Ash, because I love Nikki Cross, and even though I'm not crazy about her almost superhero gimmick,
will she dip back into?
Will she get
less than sane?
One can only hope, because Nikki Cross insanity was the most entertaining part of the NXT women's division, a women's division that, I remind you, had Bayley and Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Lacey Evans and Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott and all of these people. But Nikki Cross, when she would just do her thing with the boys from Sanity, was the most consistently entertaining thing in that division. So I've made what I'm calling my wild guess Mania card last night while I was waiting for the NyQuil to carry me off to sleep. So I'm just going to run through this real quick, and we can figure out how to get there, or if you've got better ideas. This is
honestly, I have nothing.
This is
other
sort
than
of
what I've already said, like earlier.
This is sort of based on what I think is going to happen, based on last night, but also, card subject to change as
Always.
they are as a. So for the Universal title, I have Roman Reigns defending against Rumble winner Big E. I think the change, the card has been shuffled enough, based on what happened last night, to where I think they'll give Big E another shot, but they needed the title change last night, and they needed it to be Brock. So I think it's going to be Brock against Lashley, based on the stare down that they had at the end of the match. And it just kind of seemed like almost all the big spots in the match were those two. They were getting the most heat. So I think it's going to be those two for the WWE title on the Raw side with Roman and Big E. I think we're getting to Riddle and Orton. I think we're going to get Edge and Beth against Miz and Maurice. I think we will probably get McIntyre against Corbin. And this is not counting like the Andre Battle Royal or the Moolah Battle Royal. I think they'll finally pull the trigger on actually doing Naomi against Sonya Deville. I think, and then, honestly, the rest of they'll probably finally split AJ and Almost. That match will probably happen at Mania. There'll be some bull with the 24/7 title. And then the rest of it was just kind of plug and play for me. Because I think Riddle and Orton are going to split and fight at Mania. I think at some point between now and then they'll lose the titles to Alpha Academy. And so the tag title match will be Alpha Academy against the Street Profits, with the Street Profits getting their big win at Mania, as opposed to at day one last night. And then the rest, Damian Priest has to defend the title against somebody. So Kevin Owens, why not?
Yeah.
Finn Balor against Seth Rollins, I just think would be a really good match. And neither of them really has anything. I'm sorry, Seth freaking Rollins. Neither of those guys has really anything going on. So why not fight each other? New Day and Usos. I think you could do a thing with if Big E's challenging Roman, Big E and New Day and the Bloodline. Like, maybe
I would hope that.
Maybe it's a 6-man match at the February pay-per-view or something, to spin off into the separate feuds going into Mania. Huge dark horse pick, but it seems like they're putting some fire behind her. Xia Li getting the shot against Charlotte, because
definitely could see that.
They seem to be high on her. Cesaro against Ridge Holland, because why not?
Rich Bloody Holland.
Ridge Bloody Holland, you're right, I'm sorry. Ricochet against Sami Zayn, because again, I think that would be fun. Nakamura against Sheamus.
A lot of these, though, could probably just end up in the Andre Battle Royal.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I was trying to find, because it's another 2-night show. So, assuming they're going to do between about 8 and 10 matches each night, you're really, once you get past about the top 10, it's pick 'em.
I think they might split it at least to like either 6 and 6, 5 and 5. Like, I would like to cap it at between 10 and 12 matches.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I agree. I just don't think they will. So that's why I went with because are both nights 4 hours?
Right. It's just too long. It's just
way too long.
I'm going to say...
And then I have Nikki winning the Women's Rumble and facing Becky.
That'd be cool. I can see
I think that's all and then Carmella and Zelina defending the women's tag titles against somebody. I don't know, Bayley and Sasha coming back, maybe. I don't know.
Any surprise entrance for Rumble?
Well, I mean, I was going to say Johnny Knoxville, but I think we'll probably get... I wouldn't be surprised if Braun shows up. Braun Breaker, not Braun Strowman.
Well, it's the only Braun that exists.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the Titan. That's somebody else. Yeah. No, I don't think Jim Neidhart will be in it because I'm pretty sure he's dead. I could see the Steiners. Maybe Scott, especially since he's the one that they keep talking about.
They just have him slap his nephew in the face. Right. Just get him to...
Where is the Rumble this year? I don't remember.
Royal Rumble 2022.
Mania's in... Oh, it's in St. Louis.
St. Louis.
So I'm trying to think
after my birthday.
I'm trying to think of... Because when they were in Philly, it was like, oh, well, it's going to be a bunch of ECW guys.
I am older than the Rumble. 1 year.
What's it? Well, the first one was 88?
87.
87. Okay. That's right. The first pay-per-view was 88, but they did the one on USA in 87. I am 5 years older than the Rumble. Yeah.
The Rumble has landed...
I'm older than Mania.
The Rumble has landed always around my birthday, and that's why it's one of my favorite pay-per-views, other than it just being probably the best match.
Yeah.
I think it landed on a Friday 1 year, and I had the best birthday party. Just I had a TV in the kitchen and a TV in our living room, and I synced it up so that you couldn't really miss it. Nice. It worked out so well. I think in terms of surprise entrance, why not Sean Waltman?
Okay,
have him show up. Why not? It could be fun.
Yeah. Have
And
they
I think
announced
yeah,
anybody for the Hall of Fame yet this year?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think if one or more of them.
I mean, if it's not the Undertaker, I could also
Yeah,
see Undertaker popping in.
maybe
I know he's
Kane will
retired,
probably
but
show up.
like, has anyone ever really retired?
Right.
Plus, it's in Texas this year for WrestleMania. If he doesn't do an appearance, it's going to be a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's right. It's in Dallas.
I think there may be a surprise signing. It may not be someone like huge. I could see Brian Cage debuting if he decides to no
Yeah.
longer be in AEW. I can see Walter showing up as his main
Ooh.
roster if he
Yes.
shows up. I would love to see Walter in the Rumble. But yeah, that's as far as I can think. Like, because I don't know how many. Probably some NXT call ups, at least
Yeah.
just for the Rumble, um, especially in the women's Rumble.
Pat McAfee.
Yes, Pat McAfee would be great.
Yeah. I think in the women's rumble you're gonna get kind of the usual suspects. You're gonna get Trish and Lita and Molly and Victoria and
And then
maybe
like
Jazz.
more like I would love to see Raquel Gonzalez make
Mhm.
it to like the final four in the women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
She deserves to be on the main roster right
absolutely.
now. I feel like she's done probably as much as she can right now,
Yeah.
and
Mandy Rose will probably be in it.
yeah,
Actually, probably all three members of Toxic Attraction will be in it in some form or another, even if it's just the other two accompanying Mandy to the ring, just for Corey Graves to drool over.
um, yeah, and maybe even Tommaso Ciampa
Maybe.
if he drops the belt, uh, showing up in the Rumble would be like the most minimal transfer of power for him to go
Mhm.
to the main roster. Um,
Which they
but yeah,
tried once.
yeah. And I can't really call anything in terms of like what could happen at Mania because there's so many shows still in between those,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. But I'll call this match Ray versus Dominic, mask versus mask, and Dominic
Okay.
will purposely wear a mask for this match, um, or they'll just have father versus son. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the moment where Dominic is like celebrating with Ray, puts him on top of his shoulders, and then electric chair drop.
Yeah. I can see it.
um,
Yeah, I just realized when you brought that up, I don't have either of the Mysterios on my Mania card. So I guess I assumed they would be in the Battle Royal, but yeah, that's a better match than some of the random ones I was throwing out there.
let's go into some more broader predictions too, just in general for WWE. Will this be the year that they finally sell the company to someone bigger?
Maybe. I
All
think
eyes point towards Peacock.
yeah. That's kind of the thing is that I feel like with the company clearly moving away from the McMahon family and toward Nick Khan as being the voice in that boardroom. I feel like
And Pritchard
Khan
definitely
wants
feels like he's taking over creative.
yes. I think Khan wants to sell. I don't think the McMahons want to sell. So
No.
it's going to come down to how much influence does Khan really have? And if
It
it
may even come
is,
down to like a decision by the board because they're
yeah,
technically,
they're a publicly
they could
traded
be
company.
outnumbered.
Yep, that's right. I can 100% see them being sold. And if they do sell, it's going to be to NBC Universal.
Absolutely.
That's Disney won't want them. I don't think.
Fox wants them, but they don't want Fox.
Yes, that's right. They don't. They don't want the Fox stink.
No, they want that relationship like okay with Universal.
Mhm.
Because I honestly feel like they would open up a physical Hall of Fame at City Walk.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But you're right. They would 100% do that, wouldn't they?
How cool would that be?
That would be amazing. That would be so cool.
Put that in like the extension of wherever the rest of that Epic Universe park is going to be.
Right. Yes. Or since the Blue Man Group isn't doing their shows anymore, just
There
turn
you
that
go.
theater into
That whole building and soundstage that you could
yeah,
basically turn it into.
yeah. And
Um,
you could even, have a section of it set up as a small arena. They could,
for
tape matches there
NXT.
sometimes. Yeah.
Triple H has always said, like, if it's gonna be a physical building, it has to be like theme park level, like,
Mhm.
quality.
Yeah.
And I believe that to be his next big project, to be honest. I think unfortunately this year more people are gonna be released. Um, I think
Yep.
that they're gonna keep doing the same pattern of record profits, less roster.
hmm
Um,
Once a quarter, you're going to see 20 people lose their jobs.
it sucks, but it's just this is what happens when businesses decide that they want someone else to run it.
hmm
They like liquidate themselves
Yep.
basically. Yeah,
Streamlining is what they call it
yeah,
in
it's
the
a
business world.
disgusting practice.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
hate capitalism.
As somebody who lost a job after 6 years due to the pandemic, and also because it was a publicly traded company that, due to the pandemic, was losing money hand over fist. I can safely say that yeah, it sucks.
um,
it's not fun to have
yeah,
that
not
conversation
fun
with
at all.
HR. No, no, no,
We
no.
called in terms of the Cruiserweight Championship and the North American Championship uniting.
hmm
Um, and the fact that at least they did acknowledge that the winner of Roderick Strong versus Carmelo Anthony will be
Carmelo Hayes,
sorry Carmelo Hayes will be known
Carmelo Anthony,
Carmelo,
surprise
Carmelo
entrant in the
Anthony
Royal Rumble.
Anthony Carmelo New York Nick it will they will leave as North American champion.
hmm
So the cruiserweight division is officially now just gone.
Again,
So what is the fate of 205 Live?
rebrand or
360 Live? Like, do they just eliminate it?
WWE Live.
Like you can't just yeah. I mean,
305 Live, and it's just Otis versus
it's just
Ivar every
Odyssey
week.
Jones.
Yeah.
Odyssey Jones is somebody I could see in the Royal Rumble too.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I think there actually will be some people eventually will get signed back that got let go.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah. Get the
I just
Samoa Joe
don't
treatment.
know particularly who. I doubt it'll be Bray Wyatt.
No, I
Um,
don't think it's going to be any of the big names. I think it'll be
no,
some of the
I think it'll be ones that
lower
they
down
feel
guys.
like they can control more,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
like
So,
unfortunate to say because these are people's lives, and,
yeah.
this is their livelihood, and it's
Yeah.
just yeah,
I think guys like Bray and Braun and Keith Lee and Mia Yim, like they can control their own destiny. They can make
yeah,
however much money they want to make wherever they want to make it. If they want to go to Japan, they can make a ton of money. They want to go to AEW, they can make a ton of money. If they just want to do the indies, they can make a ton of money. If they want to go to Hollywood, they can make a ton of money.
it's true.
There are options for people on that level, and even a little lower down guys like Shane Strickland. But I as much as I would love to see Biff Busick back on the independent scene or in AEW, he's the kind of guy I could see going back to WWE.
Yeah, Oni
Um,
Lorcan would be
yeah,
great. Continuing like he had some good momentum just before they let him go.
yeah, yeah. This little stable shoot, why am I blanking? Lorcan and Danny Burch
Yeah.
and Pete Dunne, their little triumvirate was doing really well. They were doing good stuff.
Shifting gears, as WWE likes to say all the time in their commentary. Let's look at All Elite Wrestling. First off, their next big pay per view is Revolution.
Mhm.
Um, that is going to be in March at Orlando, Florida. Um, what do you think is going to end up being the main event? Because I have a bold prediction.
Oh, well, I don't have a prediction yet, so let's hear your bold one while I think of one.
I think we are going to get Danielson versus Punk.
Ooh, okay.
Whether it will be for the title or not, I can't determine. But I do think that is going to be the show where they finally face off.
I could see that. I
Because
think
I could see MJF versus Punk on a bigger show like for television,
Hmm.
but I feel the real pay-per-view money making, like, and this could be something that eventually you could build up over time, at least as a series.
Yeah.
You know, because think of like when you had Punk and Joe and Danielson versus Samoa Joe.
Hmm.
Like they were marquee prize fights.
Yeah.
Um, and that I feel like that's exactly how you can build with those two.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I can 100% see that. I
because the
think
main event title, though, I really do think will be Page versus MJF.
yes. Yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to go for the title is Hangman and MJF. Uh, I like Punk Danielson a lot. I think that's probably
That's
now that
like
you say it,
Tyson
I think
Holyfield,
that
you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that string of heavyweight fights from the early to mid '90s: the Tyson Holyfield and Riddick Bowe, like those market the Lennox Lewis matches, like those
Yeah,
were you. It didn't matter what was on the undercard if you had those
right.
guys at the top, you were going to sell a million pay-per-views. Um,
I mean, like I can
I
already
think,
see the poster.
oh yeah, and I think we're going to get. I don't know if it'll be a 6-man or if it'll be a singles and a tag, but we're going to get the elite versus the undisputed era
Yeah.
showdown. I think when Kenny returns, it'll be Kenny against
But
Cole and
will
the
it
Red
be
Dragon
Kenny?
against Bucks.
Because he technically didn't get saved by his best friends. He's even said it. He's never watched the footage of the match.
That's
Uh,
true.
so, Kenny could be coming back and just being like completely pissed off. And
Maybe.
an angry Kenny Omega is a dangerous Kenny Omega. Because it could also go the way of the Bucks, making amends with Hangman and being like, "Listen,
Yeah.
we backed the wrong horse, so to speak." Um, uh, so yeah, that I think that the next version of Undisputed Era will show up. I think they want to go with Paragon because Kyle
Yeah.
O'Reilly said like, "We are the Paragon," and I'm like, "Ooh, that's a good name."
That is a good name.
So it feels like a little like they dropped that seed there. I think that in terms of new talent, um, we were doing like some fantasy trades. I
Hmm.
think it would benefit them to not worry. Like if there's some talent that maybe just I don't want to say taking up space, and but I just don't want them to risk being flooded with so many that then you
Hmm.
have people that should be being used and aren't.
Hmm.
Um,
People like
if
Ryan
you,
Cage.
yeah, like even Powerhouse Hobbs.
Hmm.
Um,
Joey
and
Janela.
I like Ethan Page, but I think
Hmm.
he'd be great in NXT
Oh yeah.
or
Yeah, have him in like a Bobby Roode type role
absolutely.
in NXT. He'd be great.
Uh, the same with Scorpio Sky. Like
Mhm.
there's talents there that I mean Wardlow would be really good for. I don't want them to
Mhm.
get rid of him because I
No,
love
no, no.
Wardlow.
Wardlow's got
Um,
a huge, very high ceiling right now.
I know that MJF is absolutely trolling people with this bidding war of
Oh yeah, the
2024,
2024. Yeah,
which is fantastic. It's exactly what
it's
you want
great.
him to do.
Yep.
Um, you know, it's in terms of people coming over, does Johnny Gargano need to come to AEW? No.
I don't think he does.
Would it be great if he did?
Oh
Sure.
yeah. Yep.
Uh, Same with like I would put the belt on Keith Lee as soon as he walked in the door. Like
Mhm.
that's just how much I love Keith Lee. Um,
Can you imagine Mia Yim in that women's division?
that's exactly what my next point would be. I'd
Yeah.
rather see now more building of the women's division with
Hmm.
new signings.
Hmm.
Do that.
Get
Let
Mia
that be your
Yim.
focus right
Get
now.
Roxy. Get Miranda Alizé.
Right.
Get some of these big name women that are get. I mean, it looks like Taya is going to Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not looking like she is going to Mexico,
Yeah.
but if the working relationship with AAA continues, Taya Valkyrie in that women's division is a
Fantastic
no-brainer.
choice.
Yeah.
Fantastic decision. I would now I know that like this is an insane thing to call, but considering that anybody is possible to be chopped in WWE, the true turning point for me in that women's division, and especially in just signing in general,
Hmm.
would be if, and I hope it never happens for her sake, if Sasha Banks gets released from WWE and what's her real name?
Mercedes Vernado.
Mercedes Vernado shows up in AEW. Maybe she might have a different name because Mercedes Martinez is already there.
Yeah,
And
I could see them do like maybe Boss Vernado or
something
like that. Yeah.
I don't know, it's all up to her. She would make her new persona.
Oh yeah.
But that would be huge, just insanely, and such a tipping of the scale in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the whole notion of this is where talent want to be.
Yep.
Will I think it happen? No. Would I love it to happen? Sure. Because obviously they've abandoned all hope of a 4 horsemen versus 4 horsemen
Yeah.
match, or even a fatal 4-way of all 4 of them in Mania. Because why do you want to make money? Why would anyone want to do that?
That's just silly.
I know I say it all the time, and I've been begging for it since I've even seen 3-man tags, but I want the Trios Championship to debut. Give me the Trios Championship.
I would love to see that be like a surprise announcement on the first TBS.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my God. What a pay-per-view quality show that is.
TK comes out with a surprise announcement and announces a trios tournament ending at Revolution. And then you got, Death Triangle. You could have 2 teams from the Dark Order alone. You got, whatever combination of Elite and Red Dragon you want to do to maybe build to that
Jurassic
split.
Express when
Jurassic Express. Any combination from the Pinnacle.
MJFDR is a fantastic
MJFDR. Yep. Sammy and Proud and Powerful.
Yeah, Sammy and Proud and Powerful would be fantastic.
Or Sammy Hagar and Jericho.
Dark Order, obviously.
Yep. You can do
Nightmare Factory.
Whatever combination of numbers. Yep. Nightmare Factory.
Party.
The Factory. Yep. Hardy Party, and then Butcher and Blade and
Best Friends and
Jack Evans or Angelico or whatever. Yeah, you could have Chaos. You have 2 teams from Chaos if you want to, have Rocky Romero or some of the other guys from Chaos.
Punk, Darby Allin, and Sting.
Yes, or Darby Allin, Sting, and Danhausen.
God, please.
Shane Taylor Promotions.
Please. Oh my God.
Shane Taylor, Moses, and Khan all show up.
All there
in the tournament. What's Vincent's stable? The Righteous. Vincent shows up with his guys, Bateman, and
he's doing the whole cult leader thing right.
Yes,
he's not like, I'm a cult leader who happens to be a wrestler. He's like, I'm a wrestler who's very good at getting people to follow me.
Yes, he's what they were trying to do with Jackal in 1997, and what Wyndham Rotunda was trying to do with Bray Wyatt. Until WWE decided, no, you're the Undertaker.
Do what we say.
You're the Undertaker. You're supernatural. It's like, but no, I'm just a creepy swamp cult guy. Like, no, you have magic powers.
I was reminded of a few trades we also made in our last exchange. Joey Janela would be great in WWE.
Yes,
he could do the Madcap Moss gimmick better.
Yes, 100%.
Because
he would sell how bad those jokes are.
Yeah, like I would love to see that.
I don't think it'll happen because I think he's making way too much doing his own stuff on the indies. But he's one of the few guys in AEW who would probably be better off in WWE.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as far as like smaller scale in wrestling, I don't think GCW is going to go to TV. Now that I had some thought about it, I'm like, no, they don't need it.
I don't think so. No.
The appeal is so much better with like this secret underground, like
the Outlaw Mud Show
vibe to it. Yeah. That to put it on TV is just, they won't be able to do what they do so well now.
Yeah. I mean,
it happened to ECW.
Look at what happened to ECW when they went to TNN. And those shows were still great. What's that? I didn't hear what you said. What was that?
When Heyman cuts that promo of, I want you to fire me. I want you to cancel me.
Yes. and they turned the network into the biggest heel stable in the promotion. Yeah, that's very much that's what would happen to GCW
Yeah.
unless they went to like a premium cable channel, like
Yeah.
like a Showtime or an HBO,
But
where they
even
could
then,
do.
like, I don't think that, just once you go to TV, then you have to answer
Yeah,
certain standards and practices no
that's
matter
true.
what.
That's true.
Um,
They are better off streaming,
yeah.
as they
Better
are.
off in control of their own product. And that's
Yeah.
another thing. I think there's going to be so much more streaming wrestling.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's already built up with like Fight TV and independent wrestling television and
Hmm.
just the Bleacher Report. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be so much more
Hmm.
because the accessibility is there. The technology to be able to do it is so
Yep.
much more available.
Yeah.
Um, this takes 2 seconds to set up. You can
Hmm.
do the same with, a couple of cameras and a computer at a show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Gone are the days of like the one show I have ever worked in my entire life in 2006 was kind of a logistical nightmare. I needed 3 different camera operators,
yeah.
uh, running, like actually physically running their cameras because there was a limit to how long a digital tape could last.
Small
Having to,
DV tapes that you
yep,
had to
which
import it through a FireWire cable.
yep, exactly, and then build in a timeline
Oof.
in Final Cut, or at the time, yeah, I think it was Final Cut,
Yeah.
to build a timeline, sync all the audio. Now it's easy as this. Like I put
Yeah.
on a headset in Charlestown, Indiana. Mike sets up his mic in New Jersey, and here we are.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the last show live from Charlestown. Next week I'll be
No
back
more
in.
Christmas set?
No more Christmas set. I'll be back in front of the green screen in Nashville next week for actual matches.
Yes. That will
Which
be a return to form
which is
for us.
exciting. Yes.
Um,
Um,
Taking a look at this year for us, we've got the continuation of the 500, obviously. Every now and then I will be doing some more watch alongs.
mhm.
I want to emphasize I cannot stream
Yes,
the actual show.
it is illegal to do
It is
that.
illegal
Yes.
for us to do that.
Yes.
So what I am
Our
doing
channel
is
would get taken
inviting
down and we
you.
could get sued. Yes.
Yeah, I'm inviting you to watch with me
Yeah. To watch
and
along.
like enjoy it together. That's why
Mhm.
it's called a watch along.
Yes.
Yeah, it's and yeah, there's a lot more. It's just one of the things we're trying to build so that we can engage with you guys who
Yeah.
watch it. Um,
Build an
will
audience so we could do a live show sometime.
exactly, which is again to me, it's like the ultimate goal to just put on one really cool. I mean, we got the name Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling Simulated presents IRL. It just fits. um, and if I have it in my way, it'll be in the Paramount Building at Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Ooh, that's a cool venue.
Yeah,
That's a good indie show
great.
venue.
It's great. Yeah, featuring Don't Die Miles.
Of course.
And
course.
all our favorite talents that we've
Yeah.
come across so far.
Jason Strife, who
yes.
created himself in the game.
Yes, that was great.
That was cool.
It's great when the actual talent contributes to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, if you would like to help us out with any models or anything that we may need, you can contact us, prowrestlingsimulated@gmail.com.
Mhm.
Forward us any information you know about where to download for Fire Pro Wrestling, any usernames. If you yourself are a co-creator, a creative wrestler creator. It's like ATM machine. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, or your PIN number.
Yeah. Yeah, please hit us up. And
Yes.
you can do the same, of course, on our social media at PW Simulated. It's all the same across the board.
And if you go to our Twitter account at PW Simulated, the pinned tweet is a list of wrestlers we still need. So if you are any of those wrestlers and want to submit for the PlayStation 4 version, I know there's compatibility issues between PS4 and PC. So if you've made it for PC but not for PS4, if you could have a friend that has a PS4 port your character over,
yeah, we'll make it work.
that would be awesome.
We're
that would
here
be awesome.
help us help you help us.
Yes. We want all 500 in the 500.
Absolutely.
I don't want to have to do like first round buys or skip matches to
Yeah.
come back to them later. But
And
we're
if
getting
you
to the point.
are a talent on the list and would like to hop onto our show,
Yeah,
let us know.
do color commentary on your own match. I would love that.
If you are watching now want to see one of your favorite indie wrestlers that made the list show up on our show, tag them.
Yeah,
We can go international. Time zones, who cares? We'll make it work. And if you are Ron Funches, we need you on the show because we want to get down to it of
yeah.
how betrayed you must feel.
How did Funch get trade? Yeah.
God, it just uh they haven't there've been I love Paul, but he's been ducking it.
Hmm.
And we're gonna find you, sir. We're
Yeah.
gonna find you and we're gonna get some truth out of you.
I mean, How Did This Get Made is back on the road doing live shows. It's
It's
only a
true.
matter of time before Funch shows up with
If
a
I have
chair.
to get Manzukis to yell at you to do it, we'll do it. But
I'm hoping Alley Catch subscribes to the newsletters if she just shows up randomly at one of the live shows.
I would love to say that a goal of mine for this year is to see a wrestling event live again. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, but I would
Yeah.
love for the things to temper down and be able by summer to see something live again.
Yep.
Yep. Even if it's a small show, I would love to go see a JCW show. I miss just seeing live wrestling.
I've been checking because I'm in suburban Louisville right now, so I keep checking like when is the next I want to see an IWA Mid South show,
Yeah,
or one of the other because that's based in Jeffersonville, which is like 5 miles from where I am right now. I could easily see it, but everybody's on hiatus for the holidays.
Yeah.
I really
support indie wrestling, folks.
I really wanted to
Find the
see Don't
shows.
Die Miles live because I know he works this area a lot.
Yeah.
He does the Chicago, Louisville, Cincinnati loop a lot. I really wanted to catch him in Louisville while we were here, but it's just not going to work out. He doesn't have any matches in this area before we go home. But yeah, when there's a show in your area, check it out. Live wrestling is awesome.
Yeah, make sure, of course, you're safe. You follow all the rules and
Yes,
don't put anybody else at risk.
get tested, get the vaccine.
Just do the necessary and make sure that the show you're watching is doing the same.
Yes,
because everybody needs to be on the same page for this, so that we can all just enjoy wrestling together without any worries.
And that's one of those things. Not to keep bringing it back to my experience at All Out, but that was one of the coolest things about that week was there were mask mandates all over Chicago. Everybody was wearing their masks. Nobody complained, or at least nobody made a thing about it. There were probably, I mean, I complained. It's it's hard to be in. It's hard to be in an arena that hot wearing a mask over your face for 4 hours. It's hard. It sucks.
Yeah, it's
but
tough.
Better than dying.
Yes.
Or accidentally killing somebody.
That should be. This is the mantra of 2022. It's better than dying.
Better than dying.
Like the standards are that low.
Pro wrestling in 2022. It's better than dying. That should be the name of the first. If we ever have a Patreon and we do a pay-per-view show on Patreon of like dream matches, we'll call it Better Than Dying.
Better than dying. And with that wonderful sentiment, we are going to close out for today. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mike. Happy New Year.
I love the fact that you brought this idea to my attention last year, and we have been having a lot of fun with it since. And we hope that all of you who are watching, you tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on.
And that's how you build a bracket.
And that's how you build a bracket, exactly. So thanks for watching, everybody. I've been Mike.
I'm still Pat.
And this has been Pro Wrestling Simulated. We will catch you next time. Adios, everybody.